Beginning with a gentle golden wind and light rain, the master of ceremonies, with a single stroke, surprises the world. This video is purely for entertainment, and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting, and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 601. 3 Steps to Dissipate the Power. Lang Jiao Cheng dies. The figure of Yajayu Tajima no Mori who had appeared earlier also disappeared. Lan Jiao Cheng's eyes became cold. He didn't care about the strength of the 2 people who appeared, but this strange way of disappearing gave him a headache. Since you want to hide, I'll force you out. A divine aura appeared on Lan Jiao Cheng's body. The divine aura appeared, and an invisible wave spread out in all directions. Suddenly, his body moved, and in the blink of an eye, he appeared in a place, and blasted out with a palm. Mixed you and golden split palm. A huge energy burst out from his palm in an instant, and a strong airflow blasted out. The surrounding air was instantly squeezed madly, forming a violent impact wave that rushed in all directions. In the center of this energy, an indestructible golden sharp energy turned into a sharp air wave, and attacked a place. Boom! At that place, Yajayu Tajima no Mori appeared, and the long sword in his hand slashed out. The sword energy was crisscrossed and extremely sharp. But when it collided with the golden sharp energy, his sword energy was instantly shattered. The energy collided with his long sword. The whole of Yajayu Tajima no Mori was blown away by the ki, and several bloodstains appeared on his robe. Golden needle acupuncture. At this moment, Yajayu Pyarakusu appeared, and a golden needle appeared in his hand, instantly inserted into Yajayu Tajima no Mori's back. Boom! At the moment when these golden needles pierced the acupuncture points on his back, Yajayu Tajima no Mori's ki instantly surged. A knife chopped down, and cut the attacking ki. Looking at the changes in the breath of Yajayu Tajima no Mori, Lang Jiao Cheng, who had not paid attention before, flashed a hint of interest. Stimulating the acupuncture points to improve your own strength. This secret method is not bad. Lan Jiao Cheng controls the divine gods of the Cheyenne Jianxi, and he has been looking for ways to improve the power of the divine gods. While speaking, his figure suddenly moved, and in the blink of an eye he appeared in front of Yajayu Tajima no Mori, and slapped out with a palm. Yajayu Tajima no Mori would not be slow to act. A knife chopped out. The attacks of the 2 people hit each other heavily. Boom! With a huge roar, the palm power and sword energy of the 2 people rushed towards the surroundings with a terrifying ripple visible to the naked eye. Some trees around seemed to be bombarded by an invisible force and collapsed instantly. Lan Jiao Cheng and Yajayu Tajima Samaru also retreated quickly to dissolve the recoil of this huge force. However, Lang Jiao Cheng's eyes were fixed as he retreated, because he didn't expect that Yajayu Tajima Samaru, whose strength had improved, could fight him head on. Your strength has improved a lot, but the gap between you and me is still very large. I can kill you with one blow. Divine power Hunio and Cheyenne Kinshao. Lan Jiao Cheng used his divine power, but his face suddenly changed, because most of the true energy in his danshin had dissipated. Divine power is momentum, and part of his foundation is still the true energy in his danshin, but the true energy in his danshin is disappearing quickly, and his divine power is not very powerful. You poisoned me. Why didn't I sense it? Lan Jiao Cheng growled. Just now, a poison called Sanbukwa Gongsan was sprinkled on my back. Yajayu Pyarakusu's cold voice came from the dark. When she appeared and attacked just now, she deliberately let the other party hit her back with a palm in order to poison the other party. The other party was a strong man with concentrated spirit in the sea. They couldn't kill the other party, so if the other party wanted to leave, they might not be able to stop him, so they poisoned the other party first, and dissipated the true ki in the other party's danshin. As long as the true ki in the other party's danshin disappears, he can't leave at that time. Lan Jiao Cheng mobilized the true ki in his body to suppress the loss of true ki in the danshin. But it didn't work at this moment. Yajayu Tajima no Mori, his figure soared into the air, and the killing god slashed again. This time, Yajayu Tajima no Mori concentrated all his energy and spirit on one sword. The power was more powerful and sharper than before. The terrifying sword light instantly turned into a waterfall and swept towards him. In addition, Yajiu Piaoxu, who was hit on the back by his palm before, also appeared and slashed with a sword. The sword energy was filled with coldness and was also extremely sharp. Seeing this, Lang Jiacheng didn't care to think too much at this moment. He slapped out with his palm, and his palm collided with the two sword lights. Boom. A huge violent sound erupted in the center of the three people. At the moment of the explosion, the figures of Liu Sheng Tajima and Liu Sheng Piaoxu disappeared instantly and turned into a cloud of smoke. When they appeared again, they had appeared behind Lan Jiacheng, slashing with the long sword in their hands, and the sword energy was crisscrossing. While paying attention to the true energy in his danshan, Lang Jiacheng raised his hands, and his hands turned into visible after images, and kept slapping out, colliding with the long swords of the two people. Bang, bang, bang. The fierce collision continued to make the sound of the collision of ki, and violent waves of air swept around. Dust flew on the ground. Lan Jiacheng's face was ugly. The true energy in his body was constantly lost. He felt that, if he didn't leave, then he might be killed by the other party, because the true energy in his danshan was exhausted. He repelled the two with a palm and shot back. This direction was the direction to the dark house. As long as he reaches the dark house, someone will pick him up and kill the two men. But at the moment he retreated, he suddenly felt a chill in his heart. Along with this chill, a dazzling knife light appeared behind him. The knife light twisted, as if it was silent, and fell in an instant. But at this moment, Lang Jiacheng seemed to have eyes behind his head, and his body moved to avoid the knife. The knife missed, and the opponent's long knife turned, and cut across Lan Jiacheng's waist. The speed was so fast, the moves changed instantly, and the knife skills were weird and swift, which was terrifying. At this moment, Lang Jiacheng avoided the attack in an incredible posture, and grabbed the person who made the move with his backhand. Block A sound appeared, and his palm collided with the opponent's long knife. The knife energy on the opponent's long knife burst out, and the energy in his palm also burst out. Bang, the two people retreated at the same time. But when retreating violently, Lang Jiacheng's face changed again, because the true energy in his danshan disappeared at this moment. At this time, a knife flashed above his head. Lan Jiacheng's body was split into two. The figure of Liu Sheng Tajima fell. Then Liu Sheng Piaoxu and Duan Xiaonar also walked out from the dark. The blood on Liu Sheng Piaoxu's mouth flowed. Lan Jiacheng's reliance was not that simple. This palm caused Liu Sheng Piaoxu to suffer serious injuries. Someone is coming. Let's go. The three disappeared in an instant. After they left, several figures appeared where they fought. The leader of them was a man in black. Looking at the body split in half on the ground, he stepped forward to investigate. After the investigation, his face changed drastically. Deputy Supervisor Lan. The man in black didn't expect that the person who was killed would be Deputy Supervisor Lan. Hurry up and chase him. The man in black growled and ordered the people who followed him. The people around him quickly spread out in all directions, trying to find the trace of the murderer. The man in black who stayed behind looked at Lan Jiacheng's body, and a trace of sadness appeared in his eyes. He stepped forward, gathered Lan Jiacheng's body together, and headed towards the city with Lan Jiacheng's body. Chapter 602 Questioning. Remember your identity. Chen Jianzi, the man in black, wrapped Lan Jiacheng's body and walked into a palace. Deep in the palace was a secret room. The secret room was filled with a bloody smell. The ground, stone platform, and walls were all covered with thick blood stains. He placed Lan Jiacheng's body on a stone platform, turned around and entered the secret room. After a while, he came out again on the stone platform and bent down to sew Lan Jiacheng's body. He was very careful and serious. Deputy Supervisor Lan, I will make your body into a special puppet. I believe you will agree with my point of view. His movements were neither fast nor slow, and his outstretched hands were very slender, like a woman's fingers. Soon, the two halves of the body were sewed together by him. After taking a look at the body, he turned and left the secret room. He went to the place where the chief of Chen GNC was. In the chief's hall, Chen was looking at the secret letter in her hand, but her mind was not on this at all. She was waiting for news. Suddenly, the door was pushed open and a man in black pushed the door and walked in. Seeing the newcomer, Chen's eyes narrowed. It's not a good habit to break into my palace late at night. King Chen said coldly. Master, Deputy Supervisor Lan was killed. I have brought back the body. I investigated the scene and found that there were 3 people who attacked. The strength of these 3 people should not have reached the level of C concentration. One of them was injured in the fight. They were able to kill Deputy Supervisor Lan because Deputy Supervisor Lan was poisoned during the fight, and the true energy in his Danshan suddenly disappeared, and he was defeated and died. The man in black spoke in a calm voice, as if he was narrating something. King Chen showed shock on her face. She had previously thought that the Qinglang Society would send out a C concentration master similar to Yan Shizhen, but she didn't expect that the other party would send someone below the C concentration to kill Lan Jiacheng. Have you found the other party's whereabouts? King Chen's expression was also calm, and she asked in a deep voice. The traces were cleaned up very well. There is no clue, but I'm very curious about how the other party knew that Deputy Supervisor Lan left the Xianjian division at this time. The man in black looked at King Chen and said, "What do you suspect?" King Chen said in a deep voice with sharp eyes, "What do you suspect?" I didn't make it clear. The head of the division wanted the leadership of the Xianjian division, so he asked someone to kill Deputy Supervisor Lan. The man in black said calmly, "You are so bold. You are looking for death." King Chen's face was furious. A figure walked out from behind her, with 2 fingers together, and a sword finger pointed out in the air. An explosion. In the dim palace, there was no sound or light effect. An extremely cold force shot out, and arrived in an instant, hitting the black man in an instant. Boom, there was a loud bang, and a sound like an explosion was heard. The figure of the man in black was shocked and retreated several steps. When he retreated, his right arm was in front. He just used his right arm to block the opponent's finger. The sleeve of the right arm that blocked it burst. The exposed arm was not a human arm, but a metal arm. Looking at the other party's arm, the person who made the move and King Chen both showed a hint of surprise in their eyes. Han, I didn't expect that the people of the Mirren family have already placed their bets on the Sisu. The man in black looked at the figure that appeared beside King Chen and said. The figure was dressed in green and looked like a middle-aged man. The surprise just now was gone, and he looked at the man in black with cold eyes. I know, you shouldn't say it. The middle-aged man called Han moved while speaking. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the other party. He raised his palm, and a terrifying cold air filled his palm, and slapped it down. Seeing this, the man in black also slapped out a palm quickly. At the same time, he exerted force on his feet, and rushed out to increase the power in his palm. Boom, the 2 forces collided. The man in black was blown away, and fell outside the hall. A mouthful of black blood spurted out of his mouth, and a layer of cold light appeared on his arm. A layer of cracks appeared on the metal arm. He glanced at the palace and turned away. Han, who had made the move, did not pursue him, but came to King Chen and said, "Why didn't you let me kill him? You can't kill him here. If you make a move outside the palace, someone will make a move on you, and you will be killed." King Chen said coldly. Then he continued to look at the official documents in his hand. Lan Jiacheng was dead. Her heart was also settled. As for the black-clothed man who left, she didn't care. He offended her so much, and I believe the people behind him will warn him. After leaving the palace, the black-clothed man returned to the previous palace. When he stepped into the palace, a terrifying force fell on him, and his originally injured body knelt directly on the ground. Who gave you the courage to question the princess? The man who came had a cold look, wearing a purple eunuch robe, white hair, and a fair face. He was Ling Cheng, one of the 3 eunuchs in the palace. Godfather, the death of Deputy Supervisor Lan must have been done by King Chen. The black-clothed man who was half kneeling on the ground said, "Pa." Just as he finished speaking, Ling Cheng appeared in front of the man in black and slapped him. The man in black spat out blood again. As a slave, you cannot call the princess by her name. Remember that the master is the master and the slave is the slave. If you don't want to be a slave, I can send you off. Ling Cheng looked at the man in black, with a chill in his eyes. As he spoke, his palm landed on the man's injured arm. Swish, tearing the man's arm off directly. Ah! The man in black screamed. Ling Cheng threw the arm aside, making a clanging sound when it came into contact with the ground. It was not a real arm. But the place where it was fused with the shoulder was real flesh and blood was flowing. This is a lesson for you. Your duty in the Xianjian division is to study. Don't forget your own duties. After saying that, Ling Cheng stepped away. The man in black, who was kneeling on the ground, stood up and came to the arm. With the remaining hand, he grabbed the arm on the ground and went deep into the palace. Another place. Pang Tong's mansion. In the study room, Pang Tong looked at the information from the investigation in front of him. His eyes were gloomy. Master, Shangwen he hid himself well enough. He took down the money gang and then showed his strength. He was preparing to challenge us. Master, you met with the 12th prince. What was the attitude of the 12th prince? Opposite Pang Tong, the old man in black with gloomy triangular eyes spoke. The 12th prince clearly said that he would not interfere in the matter between Shangwen he and me. Pang Tong said in a deep voice. Today, he went to see the 12th prince on purpose, to know his attitude towards this matter. Unexpectedly, the 12th prince directly stated that he would not interfere with his attack on Shangwen he. It was a good thing. But Pang Tong always felt that something was wrong. Could it be that Shangwen he has a relationship with Qian Junmo of Zhenwu Garden? The old man in front of him frowned and said, the 12th prince is not Shangwen he support, so it can only be said that the other party has a relationship with Qian Junmo of Zhenwu Garden. Young master, according to the master's order, Shangwen he of the money gang will not be dealt with for the time being. The master has received information that Qin Juilin, the general manager of Zhenwu Garden, is preparing to take action against Shangwen he of the money gang. An old man dressed in green and who looked like a butler pushed the door and walked in. Chapter 603. The assassins gather again. Emperor Wu Hao and Zhenwu Garden are in action. Uncle Zhao. Pang Tong was very friendly when he saw the blue-clothed housekeeper who pushed the door open. This blue-clothed old man was not only the housekeeper of Master Pang's residence, but also the best master in the Pang residence besides his father. Pang Tong did not regard him as an outsider. Butler Zhao. On the other side, the gloomy triangular-eyed old man bowed and saluted. Master, let me tell the young master that you only need to gather Chu Shai and Tang, and you should not be greedy for money gang. As for the death of Steward Huang, the young master can arrange people to capture Jing Yi alive when Qin Juilin takes action and refine him into a medicine man. Butler Zhao's tone was flat. In his eyes, Jing Wuming was insignificant. Thank you, Uncle Zhao came to remind me. I know what to do. Pang Tong nodded. Young master knows, then this old servant will take his leave first. After the blue-clothed old man came to salute, he left the room and closed the door. I didn't expect that Qin Juilin from Zhenwu Garden would personally take action against Shangwen he from the money gang. Is he trying to make an example of someone? After Butler Zhao left, the skinny old man with triangular eyes said, no matter what he wants to do, Zhenwu Garden's reputation has plummeted, and it's not easy to recover. Manager Liu, keep an eye on Zhenwu Garden and money gang. As soon as Zhenwu Garden takes action, you take the four evils and set off. You must bring Jing Yi back. Pang Tong said harshly, just as the two were discussing things. Somewhere outside the city, in a dim underground space, the lights flickered. 7 figures gathered together. These 7 figures were filled with coldness, and a terrifying and oppressive aura emanated from their bodies. The air in the secret room could not circulate smoothly. These 7 figures were all wearing wide black robes and masks on their faces, and their faces could not be seen clearly. Everyone. Sorry, I'm late. At this time, 3 figures walked in, led by the Xian Sheng Hall Master. Behind him were the ancient twin demons. Everyone, I must have known the purpose of bringing you together this time. Emperor Wu Hao will leave the capital in 2 days, so I hope you will kill Emperor Wu Hao tomorrow. This time I'm just the convener. I will not take any of Emperor Wu Hao's bounty. The other 7 will share it equally. Wait. He hadn't finished speaking. Among the 7 people, a burly man wearing an iron mask said, Qian Sheng Hall Master, it's not attractive to share it equally. The burly man's voice was hoarse and unpleasant. When the burly man finished speaking, a woman wearing a mask and a black robe, but still showing her curvy figure, said, I don't agree to share it equally either. After all, there are 3 warriors at the Danshan who are high level here. How can they share it equally with us? Although the two of you have reached the sea of concentration, in front of Emperor Wu Hao, you can't take 3 moves, which is no different from the Danshan who are high level. After hearing what the two said, the Xian Sheng Hall master spoke. I agree to split it equally. If you don't agree, you can leave. At this time, a masked man spoke. There was another person standing next to him, holding a long sword. He didn't seem to care about other people's conversations. Song Lunhu, do you agree to do this? Do you want to help the person next to you and get a reward? The black-robed woman who spoke looked at the man holding the long sword next to Song Lunhu. Although the aura on her body was cold and arrogant, it did not reveal the aura of concentration in the sea. TSK. Just as her voice fell, the sword in the hand of the man holding the long sword flashed. A crack appeared on the mask on the face of the woman who spoke, revealing a woman with a cold face and a somewhat conceited look. But at this moment, when the mask cracked, the conceit on her face disappeared, and what was left was horror. You. The black-robed woman who came back to her senses, had a ferocious look on her face. She didn't expect the other party to draw a sword. Cheyenne me, brother Yan has a bad temper. If you don't want to die under his sword, shut up. The one who drew the sword was Yan Shizhen. Song Lunhu received a call from the Xian Sheng Hall master of Zhenwu Garden, so he brought Yan Shizhen with him. Yan Shizhen had previously restrained his own aura, and no one thought that Song Lunhu would be with Yan Shizhen, thinking that Yan Shizhen was just brought in by Song Lunhu. Brother Yan, who are you? The woman in black looked at Yan Shizhen and said coldly. Yan Shizhen of the Qinglang Society. Yan Shizhen continued to close his eyes after saying this, and his voice was simple. Yan Shizhen of the Qinglang Society? Hearing the other party's words, the black-clothed woman's eyes narrowed slightly. She didn't expect that the other party would be Yan Shizhen of the Qinglang Society. There are already rumors about Yan Shizhen in the capital, and Yan Shizhen is a strong man who concentrates his mind in the sea. Now the sword just now completely proves that the other party is a strong man who concentrates his mind in the sea, and a very strong one. I agree. At this time, a feminine voice sounded. It was another one of the 4 strong men in the sea who concentrate their mind in the sea that the woman just mentioned. Since you all agree, then we agree too. I wonder when you are ready to start. The burly man said. Early tomorrow morning, I, General Manager Qin of Zhenwu Garden, will take action against Shangwen He of the Money Gang. You can take action at that time. Besides, if we take action during the day, after killing Emperor Wu Hao, I believe it will be easier for you to escape. Xian Sheng Hall Master said. Shangwen He of the Money Gang is a small person, and it is surprising that General Manager Qin of Zhenwu Garden took action. But it is indeed an opportunity. By then, I believe that everyone in the capital will pay attention to the Money Gang. No one will expect us to take action against Emperor Wu Hao. I agree to take action early tomorrow morning. Song Lunhu said. Okay, we agree. The other people nodded one after another. In that case, let's wait until early tomorrow morning and set off for Emperor Wu Hao's mansion. When my general manager Qin takes action against the Money Gang, we will set off. Xian Sheng Hall Master said. Afterwards, Xian Sheng Hall Master did not leave, but sat cross-legged in this dim space, and went to Emperor Wu Hao's mansion together tomorrow. Brother Yan, what do you think of tomorrow's events? In the darkness, Song Lunhu sent a voice message to Yan Shizhen. Emperor Wu Hao, or Qin Juilin. Yan Shizhen said. Song Lunhu was startled when he heard it. He didn't care about Qin Juilin, he cared about Emperor Wu Hao. Emperor Wu Hao, he will die tomorrow, and his head will be taken away. Yan Shizhen said in a voice transmission. Brother Yan, you want to take all the rewards? Song Lunhu was shocked. The Qinglang Society has many people here, and the rewards can't be taken by outsiders. Yan Shizhen didn't say anything else. Song Lunhu was slightly shocked, but he didn't ask any more questions. Yan Shizhen's words had revealed a lot. He couldn't ask any more questions, but he didn't understand why Yan Shizhen mentioned Qin Juilin. Could it be that there would be changes in the Money Gang? The next morning, the weather was clear and the sun was shining, but many people were paying attention to Zhenwu Garden because there was news that Zhenwu Garden was going to take action against Money Gang, and the gate of Zhenwu Garden opened. Qin Juilin, The general manager of Zenwu Garden, who was wearing a purple robe, walked out of Zenwu Garden, followed by two people, an old man in a brown robe and a burly man in a tight suit. The three of them walked outside the mansion and got ready in a carriage. The carriage headed in the direction of the Jinqian gang. Chapter 604, Zenwu Garden, Money Gang, Hard Fight, Bei Chaofei takes the first move. Money Gang. In the meeting hall, Shangwen Jinhang sat in the hall. Beside him, Jing Wuming stood respectfully with a calm look in his eyes. Nothing could make him have emotional fluctuations. As for Madame Yu, her face was a little pale because she got the news from Zenwu Garden that Qin Zhuoyuan would come to Money Gang in person. She was anxious all night. Report. At this time, a disciple of Money Gang rushed into the hall. Gang master, the carriage of Zenwu Garden is coming towards our Money Gang. The disciple stuttered. Zenwu Garden has a great reputation in the capital, and they, Money Gang, can't stop it at all. When such a thing happened last night, one of the Money Gang wanted to leave, but they were all killed by Jing Wuming. The blood of Money Gang last night was shed. Now there is still a bloody smell in this courtyard. The remaining two managers of Money Gang also lost their heads last night and were buried with ordinary gang members. The remaining disciples of the Money Gang were shocked by this method, and no one dared to move. I really want to meet the manager of the Zenwu Garden, Shangwen Jinhang said calmly. Last night, the deputy leader of the South Pavilion, Yao Yu, had sent him a message that people had arrived in the capital. Since they were already there, why should he be afraid of Qin Zhuoyuan of the Zenwu Garden? Previously, he had thought of using the Taishi Mansion and the 12th Prince to shock them and officially show the South Pavilion of Xian'ai Pavilion. But he didn't expect that Zenwu Garden would come up. At this time, on a pavilion not far from the Money Gang, a young man in a white robe was standing on the top of the pavilion, looking at the Money Gang, not far away. Beside him, Madame Ningxiang of Beixiang Pavilion was standing respectfully. Why didn't Shangwen he leave? Can he really stop Qin Zhuoyuan? The young man said. Master, Madame Yu beside Shangwen he has contacted me. She should want to contact you through me. If he has the confidence, he should not contact me. Madame Ningxiang was wearing a light green palace dress with a jade bead hairpin in her bun, and she looked very charming. No trump card? Then how could he face Qin Zhuoyuan head on? The young man frowned slightly. This young man was Kan Junmo, the eldest disciple of the owner of the Zenwu Garden. The Golden Money Gang was his property. Of course he had to pay attention to it. Pang Tong's people are also here to join in the fun. Kan Junmo looked towards a place on the street. Four big men in tight clothes came towards the Golden Money Gang. They were the four evil slaves under Pang Tong. Four evil slaves. The eldest and second of these four have reached the Danshan transformation seal level, and the other two are in the 9 difficulties of heaven and man. Are they going to take the opportunity to take down the Golden Money Gang? Madame Ningxiang frowned. Pang Tong shouldn't do this. He probably came here to make some show. After all, Huang Xiangxing died in the Money Gang. If he doesn't take action, how can he explain it to others? Kan Junmo said coldly. As he spoke, a carriage from Zenwu Garden slowly came towards the Money Gang. The carriage was not moving fast. The pedestrians around and some martial artists quickly retreated. Even the four evil slaves who were walking on the road before automatically stepped aside. Make way for the carriage of Zenwu Garden. On the other side, the 12th Prince and Pang Tong stood in a pavilion. Your Highness, Shangwen he has no chance of survival today. Our previous investment has gone down the drain, and we have also offended Kan Junmo. Pang Tong said. If Kan Junmo wanted to find us, he would have done it a long time ago. We didn't move today. Kan Junmo won't make things difficult for you again. However, we can't underestimate Shangwen he cleaned up the Money Gang last night with bloody means. At this time, there is still such a method. Shangwen he doesn't have any trump cards. He won't do this. The 12th Prince said this, his eyes flashing. In his heart, he actually wanted Shangwen he to make a big splash. In this way, he can continue to contact Shangwen he. The carriage stopped at the door of the Money Gang. No one appeared in the Money Gang, and the gate was dead silent. Two figures walked out of the carriage. It was the white-haired Kwaleo and the burly man. Kim Ju-eun, who was sitting in the carriage, did not get off the carriage. Although he had to deal with the money gang, he didn't have to do it himself. Two figures walked out of the money gang in the dark. One of them was Betrayals, who did not hide his identity. The other one, dressed in black, with a black hood on his face, only revealing a pair of eyes, was Miranfu. Shangwan Jinhang announced his identity as Cheyenne Pavilion today. Betrayals, as a member of the North Pavilion of Cheyenne Pavilion, still needs to take action at this time. Seeing Betrayals and Miranfu walking out of the dark, Madame Yu's eyes moved slightly. At this time, Betrayals and Miranfu appeared, which means that there are masters from Cheyenne Pavilion coming. Her beautiful eyes moved, and her mentality relaxed. Boss, Kim Ju-eun's carriage has arrived, but he didn't get off. The disciple who came in reported. Got it, you don't have to take action, go to the side first. Shangwan Jinhang said. Boom when his voice fell. The gate of the Jinqian gang was directly broken by a fist, and two figures rushed in from outside the Jinqian gang. Ikwashan from Zenwu Garden, Lukishan from Zenwu Garden. The two people who came in, their aura soared, and the violent auras went towards the whole of the Jinqian gang. Let's take action. Betrayals and Miranfu rushed out, and landed in the courtyard. Some people watching the battle frowned slightly, when they saw the figure appearing. Betrayals from Jinfengxiu Tower. How could he appear here? Some people frowned slightly when they saw Betrayals. His strength is not even at the level of the 9 difficulties of heaven and man. How dare he take action? Betrayals from Jinfengxiu Tower is also a celebrity in the capital. Many people have investigated Betrayals and know his strength. If it weren't for the 2 pavilion masters of the North Pavilion of Cheyenne Pavilion, Betrayals' Jinfengxiu Tower would have been destroyed long ago. I didn't expect him to appear here at this time. Betrayals. Ikwashan looked at Betrayals who was blocking them, and his tone was cold. While speaking, his danshan turned into a sea of energy and swept towards Betrayals, trying to suppress Betrayals with his momentum. Boom. Betrayals also exuded the aura of the 9 difficulties of heaven and man. And with a move of his feet, his figure appeared in front of the other party like a ghost, and his hands were like after images, carrying a terrifying and sharp energy, to attack the other party. 9 difficulties of heaven and man. I'll let you have the confidence to fight me. You're really looking for death. Ikwashan snorted coldly, raised his palm, and pushed it out directly, and the energy that was more terrifying than Betrayals swept out, and went towards the other party's palm. He wanted to suppress the other party with his palm. Swish. Just when his palm collided with the other party's palm, the energy on his palm was directly torn apart by the sharp light from Betrayals' palm. A bloody mark was cut on his palm the moment he slapped it out. He was shocked and quickly pulled out his palm. At this moment, Betrayals changed his claws into palms and slapped Ikwashan's body. Bang! The powerful force knocked the other party away with one palm, hitting the wall in front of the Money Gang mansion. The wall collapsed, and Ikwashan's body fell outside the Money Gang mansion. Ikwashan fell to the ground, spurting blood from his mouth, and looked at Betrayals who rushed out with anger. Chapter 605. Time has passed, give him back in his own way. Before the voice fell, Betrayals followed closely behind, and several sword fingers burst out from his fingers, shooting violently at Ikwashan. Ikwashan was shocked and angry, and endured the injury, moving his body to avoid the attacking sword fingers. The moment he dodged the sword fingers, Betrayals pointed his finger out, like a thunderous lightning, tearing the air, and piercing through the void, coming in an instant. Swish. Blood splattered, and a blood hole appeared on one of Ikwashan's arms. The whole arm could not move for a while, and the body retreated rapidly, pulling away from Betrayals, and looked at Betrayals' palm vigilantly. On Betrayals' palm, a pair of metal gloves appeared. The gloves flashed with cold light. Weapon level weapons. I didn't expect that you, Betrayals, would have weapon level weapons, and your strength has reached the 9th level of heaven and man. Ikwashan's eyes were extremely angry, and his heart was filled with murderous intent. Betrayals, who he had not taken a fancy to before, actually hid his strength, and had a pair of weapon level gloves in his hands. Due to carelessness, the opponent broke his own energy. He was seriously injured. You are not as strong as me now. Bei Chaofei said coldly. While speaking, his eyes were looking at the carriage. Qin Juan was sitting in the carriage. After Guoshan's arm was injured, he fled in a direction very close to Qin Juan's carriage. So he didn't do it. He could hurt Guoshan, but he couldn't hurt Qin Juan. He felt that, if he continued to chase, he might die. This Bei Chaofei is so strong, that he can hurt Guoshan. This is unexpected. From what Guoshan said, he should be careless, and underestimated the opponent, so he was seriously injured. Some warriors outside the money gang, who didn't know the situation inside the money gang, discussed. Why is Bei Chaofei in the money gang? Why did he help Shangwen? Some people didn't understand why Bei Chaofei appeared here, and asked in confusion. On the pavilion, Qian Junmo looked at Bei Chaofei and his eyes condensed slightly. Master, is Shangwen related to Jinfeng Xiao Tower? Madame Ning Xiang beside him said in a deep voice. Qian Jun was silent, and after thinking for a moment, he said, or Shangwen is related to Xian'an Pavilion behind Jinfeng Xiao Tower, which is really interesting. While speaking, his eyes looked at the hall of Jinqian Gang. There was another person who just entered. I don't know who he was fighting with. Boom. While he was thinking, two figures flew out. One figure was fierce and violent, and the other figure was elegant, with a figure like a shadow. The palms of the two people kept colliding, and the key burst out from their palms. The wall that was previously knocked down by Guoshan collapsed under the key of the two people. The internal situation of Jinqian Gang was revealed. A person wrapped in a black robe. The one fighting was Lucian, another person from Zenwood Garden. The black-robed man had reached the Danshan Huahei. The key in his palms was continuous, and the palm power was sharp. The moves were different, but they could be connected flawlessly. The burly man was forced to retreat step by step. After he was forced out of the money gang, Lucian roared, and the true energy in his body condensed. His palm was like an invisible black hole, and went towards Mirengfu, who was wearing black clothes. He screamed in his heart. The true energy in this person's body was too strange, and his body movements were even more fierce. His attacks were either blocked or resolved. Opposite him, Mirengfu's eyes were calm. When the opponent's hand was about to appear in front of him, his body suddenly turned into several figures. His palms slapped out instantly. At the moment of slapping out, it seemed to turn into several palm shadows, attacking the various points on Lucian's body. Bang, bang, bang. Mirengfu's palm fell on the opponent's body, and a rumbling sound broke out. Lucian's figure was shaken back several steps. His footsteps on the ground could not withstand the pressure, and broke into pieces. But Lucian had no injuries on his body. Only his shirt was shattered by Mirengfu's energy, revealing bronze skin. Mirengfu's attack just now did not cause much damage to the opponent. As expected, Mirengfu muttered in his heart. The opponent's physical strength combined with his own blood and ki, ordinary palm power could not break the opponent's body. Damn it, damn it. Lucian was furious, and veins popped on his forehead. He did not gain the upper hand against Mirengfu. You underestimated me. Lucian roared. A terrifying blood and ki flowed rapidly in his body. His skin turned red, and his muscles were like iron. The heat surging in his body caused the surrounding space to distort. What a terrible aura. Some warriors watching the battle were surprised by the changes in Lucian's power. Mirengfu's eyes condensed. The fierce aura on the opponent was extraordinary. Bang. Just when his mind was moved, Lucian suddenly moved, and his burly figure collided with the air in an instant, making a bang, and his speed was extremely fast, like a flash of red light. This is using his own power to increase his speed. I'll see how you can avoid it this time. Lucian's eyes flashed with a ferocious light that made people shudder, and he slapped his hands at the same time. The red palms of his hands appeared in front of Mirengfu with a terrifying wave of air, and he slapped them down. The red true energy in the palms that slapped down was like a wave, locking Mirengfu's body in the moving space around him. Facing this attack, Mirengfu concentrated, and the true energy in his palms burst out, and he slapped his palms at the same time. This time, Mirengfu and the opponent were going to fight hard. If he collides head-on with Lucian, his true energy and blood should not be as good as Lucian. Pang Tong, who was with the 12th prince, said. But before he finished speaking, the palms of the two had already collided. This time, it was not Mirengfu who flew backwards, but Lucian. It came quickly and went quickly. The whole body was shaken away like a wild horse, and the arms that were facing Mireng Fu's palms burst at the same time, with blood and flesh flying and bones shattered. Ah! Lu Kexin screamed. What's going on? Some people don't understand what's going on. Their eyes were wide open. Lu Kexin's attack just now was so powerful. Why didn't Mireng Fu get hurt? But Lu Kexin got hurt instead? Everyone looked at Mireng Fu. Mireng Fu's eyes were calm. Of course, his internal energy was also vibrating. Just now, he used Daozu and crossing Yi to return the opponent's attack to his arm. That's why Lu Kexin's arm meridians burst. He looked at the injured Lu Kexin, and a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. The opponent was injured, so it was time to kill him. What a good move, to use the opponent's strength to fight back. Just when he wanted to move, Qin Zhuoyan's voice came from the carriage that stopped at the door of the money gang. Let Mireng Fu move his body slightly. The other party spoke, and he had no chance to take action. Swish. At this moment, a ray of light suddenly flew out from the money gang. It was extremely fast, and it appeared in front of Lu Kexin, who was in severe pain in a flash. Lu Kexin's face changed drastically, and he instinctively wanted to raise his hands to resist, but both of his arms were injured, and he couldn't move at all. It was just this brief instinct that made him forget to move his body. Without moving his body, golden light appeared at his throat. Chapter 606. This seat, Xian'ai Pavilion, South Pavilion, Shangguan Jinhang. How dare you? A loud shout came from the carriage. A stream of qi came out from the carriage and pointed directly at the golden light. Clang, the qi collided with the golden light, making a clang sound. Lu Kexin must have breathed a sigh of relief. But after the clang, the golden light split into two, and one of the golden lights hit his throat. Crack, the crisp sound of bones breaking rang in everyone's ears. Lu Kexin's eyes widened. He didn't expect that the golden light could split into two, nor did he expect that he would die like this. His body fell to the ground with a plop. Dust splashed as Lu Kexin fell to the ground. A figure walked out of the money gang, raised his hand and grabbed, and the two previously scattered golden lights were instantly sucked into the other party's hands. Shangguan He. Seeing that figure, some people's eyes condensed. Many people are unfamiliar with Shangguan He, and the time of his rise is incredible. He became the leader of the money gang overnight. When he first became the leader of the money gang, many people knew that Shangguan He was not strong enough. But a few days later, Huang Xiangxing, the manager of the Grand Tutor's mansion, died in the Jinqian gang. The one who did it was Shangguan He. Everyone realized that Shangguan He was not simple, but they didn't see it, so they just heard about it. There was no real perception. Now Shangguan He made a move and killed Lu Kexin with one blow, and it was with the help of Qin Zhuoyan. The atmosphere became depressing. Zhenwu Garden appeared in the Jinqian gang, originally to pressure the Jinqian gang, but now it was Zhenwu Garden who died first. Another person was seriously injured. Everyone looked at the carriage. They didn't know whether Qin Zhuoyan would make a move in the carriage at this moment. On the other side, the 12th prince looked at Pang Tong and said, "Let your 4 evil slaves withdraw. Otherwise, I'm afraid they will become a corpse." Hearing the words of the 12th prince, Pang Tong's face was a little ugly. The situation was completely beyond his expectations. Originally, he would take advantage of the opportunity. But if he made a move now, the risk is indeed a bit high. And this Shangguan He might have something to do with Xian'ai Pavilion. It is really inappropriate to provoke such an enemy. Tell them not to make a move, Pang Tong said to the skinny manager Liu standing behind him. Yes. Manager Liu turned around and left immediately. Do you think Qin Zhuoyan will make a move? If he makes a move, he may not be able to save the face of Zhenwu Garden. Pang Tong then said. From the current situation, Shangguan He's trump card may be related to Xian'ai Pavilion. When the 12th prince spoke, his eyes flashed with brilliance. Bei Chaofu's appearance has already foreshadowed a lot. This Shangguan He is not simple. The momentum on his body? Pang Tong said in a deep voice. The 12th prince also looked at Shangguan He standing at the door of Jinqian gang. At this moment, although Shangguan Jinhang's body is not tall, his face is indifferent, and his facial features are majestic. His aura is not strong, but his momentum is very strong. Jing Wuming stood behind him, motionless. I really want to know your true identity. At this time, Qin Zhuoyuan's voice came from the carriage. Shangwen Jinhang's appearance did not make Qin Zhuoyuan have the intention to get off the carriage. Qin Zhuoyuan's voice was calm. The previous angry tone had disappeared. Hearing Qin Zhuoyuan's words, Shangwen Jinhang's eyes condensed slightly. General Manager Qin came to my Jinqian gang and didn't get off the carriage. He really looked down on my Jinqian gang. Shangwen Jinhang did not answer Qin Zhuoyuan's words, but said coldly, "You have that strength, so you can naturally make me get off the carriage." Although Qin Zhuoyuan's tone was calm, but he told everyone that Shangwen Jinhang was not strong enough for him to take action. Really? Then I would like to experience it. While Shangwen Jinhang was speaking, his figure shot out and rushed directly to Qin Zhuoyuan's carriage. "If you don't get off the carriage, I will make you get off the carriage." Boom! Just as Shangwen Jinhang's figure rushed out, a breath appeared on the carriage, and this breath formed a terrifying true key fluctuation and instantly went towards Shangwen Jinhang like a wave. Along with this key, on the carriage, a blood key condensed and formed a blood sword. The blood sword flashed a red light and shot towards Shangwen Jinhang. Shangwen Jinhang's eyes condensed, and the golden ring in his hand instantly turned into a golden light, colliding with the long sword that shot out. Bang! The two key energies collided, and the golden ring fell to the ground. The blood-colored long sword shattered. This golden ring is not ordinary, but the gap in strength is too big, and weapons can't make up for it. Qin Zhuoyuan's cold snort came from the carriage. While speaking, the curtain of the carriage opened, and a terrifying fist force instantly burst out from the carriage, covering Shangwen Jinhang. Seeing this, Shangwen Jinhang moved his body, raised his palm to the fallen golden ring, and instantly returned to his hand. As the key energies surged, the golden light in the golden ring surged. Then someone's golden ring was like a spring, and it shot out instantly, and collided with the fist. Bang! The fist force and the golden ring collided, and the fist force disappeared. The golden ring flew back to Shangwen Jinhang's two arms in two parts. At the moment of flying back, Shangwen Jinhang's body was in the air, and all the true ki in his body poured into the golden ring. Both hands punched out at the same time, and the golden rings instantly turned into two golden lights, which came out with the energy. Hum. A cold snort came from the carriage. Two fists burst out. Boom. The fists rushed towards the golden light, but the two golden lights suddenly turned instantly, hitting Qin Zhuoyuan's carriage from both sides at the same time. Boom. Qin Zhuoyuan's carriage was directly hit by the two golden rings. It was instantly torn into pieces. As the carriage was torn into pieces, a purple figure flew out of the carriage. The figure rushed out, and the breath on his body was surging. The broken carriages around him were instantly turned into powder under this energy. The coachman and the horse were shaken out by the energy and fell into the crowd not far away. The coachman was not injured, but the horse fell to the ground and roared twice, and then there was no breath. Everyone looked at Qin Zhuoyuan, who fell to the ground. Qin Zhuoyuan was tall, and with the terrifying energy bursting out of his body at this moment, he looked like a demon. He looked at Shangwen Jinhang with cold eyes. Shangwen Jinhang's figure also fell, and the flying golden ring returned to his hand. He looked at Qin Zhuoyuan with a serious look. Qin Zhuoyuan gave him a strong sense of oppression. Even if he burst out with all his strength to exert the power of the dragon and phoenix golden ring, he could not hurt the person in front of him. Zenwu Garden, General Manager, Qin Zhuoyuan is very strong. At this moment, the street was silent. A person's name is like a tree shadow. Qin Zhuoyuan is the top strong man in the sea of concentration in Zenwu Garden. Although he could not hurt the other party, he still wanted to fight with the other party. I'm very curious about you. Where are you from? Chianaya Pavilion. Qin Zhuoyuan did not attack, but looked at Shangwen Jinhang and directly pointed out, Chianaya Pavilion. I'm from the South Pavilion of Chianaya Pavilion. Shangwen Jinhang. Shangwen Jinhang tore off Shangwen his face while speaking. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 607 Yaoyu appears, Qin Zhuoyuan's arm. The other party has pointed out the Chianaya Pavilion, so Shangwen Jinhang does not need to hide her identity anymore. Xian'ai Pavilion, South Pavilion, Shangwen Jinhang. Although everyone had previously guessed that Shangwen Jinhang was from Xian'ai Pavilion, they were still very surprised when they really heard it. Shangwen Jinhang, Xian'ai Pavilion, South Pavilion. Qian Junmo looked at Madame Ningxiang. Young master, Xian'ai Pavilion is rumored to have 4 pavilions in the southeast, northwest, and north. Jinfengxiu Tower belongs to the North Pavilion, and the East Pavilion now occupies the Xianshan sect outside the Great Wall. The South Pavilion has not appeared before. Madame Ningxiang replied. The Xiangsha League in the Lingjiang area is also occupied by Xian'ai Pavilion. Yes, it is occupied by Xian'ai Pavilion. 10 Directions General Envoy Guan Yushan. Madame Ningxiang replied. What do Xian'ai Pavilion want to do by doing this? I don't know what kind of person will appear in Xian'ai Pavilion, South Pavilion this time. But the strength of General Manager Qin is not ordinary. I don't know if the people they come can resist. Qian Junmo said in a deep voice. As the eldest disciple of the master of Zhenwu Garden, he was still clear about the strength of Qin Juilin, the general manager of Zhenwu Garden. He looked at Qin Juilin. Kill you first. Qin Juilin knew Shangwen Jinhang's identity, and his eyes were focused. The burst of ki on his body formed a layer of brilliant light. He raised his hand and slapped Shangwen Jinhang. Shangwen Jinhang saw this, raised his arm, and the golden ring in his hand shot out instantly. However, the power that burst out from Qin Juilin's palm was abnormal, and the golden ring was directly knocked off, and his body also banged, flew backwards on the spot, and hit the ground. A mouthful of blood spurted out of his mouth. He looked at Qin Juilin with gloomy eyes. He was hit by Qin Juilin's palm, and was seriously injured. Is there no one from your Xian'ai Pavilion coming? Then send you on your way. Qin Juilin just attacked Shangwen Jinhang, but he didn't use all his strength. Shangwen Jinhang dared to confront him head on. Someone from the South Pavilion of Xian'ai Pavilion must have come. So he tried to make a move. But the people from Xian'ai Pavilion did not show up. Since they did not show up, he would send Shangwen Jinhang to death. He clenched his palm into a fist, gathered the strength of his fist, and prepared to punch Shangwen Jinhang to death. But when his fist strength was gathered, his mind moved, and his eyes looked in one place. 2 beautiful figures walked out from that place. Especially the person in the lead, with an indifferent expression and cold eyes, wearing a light golden robe, coiled on the top of his head, and 2 purple ribbons falling on the golden crown. Her body is exquisite, and the exposed skin is shining with a crystal luster, white and tender, like condensed fat jade, with long black hair falling to the waist, slender legs straight, graceful figure, very perfect. Her temperament is cold, like a fairy in Guanghan Palace. In the coldness, there is also an inexplicable majesty and a kind of awe-inspiring magic. It is an irresistible magic. Let her be exiled to the top, so that people can't look up. As soon as she appeared, everyone turned their eyes to her unconsciously, and then they lowered their heads unconsciously. The 2 were walking towards the door of the money gang step by step. An invisible true ki appeared around them, and the true ki in the air expanded and rippled. It looked very slow, but in the blink of an eye, they appeared at the door of the money gang. At this moment, Shangwen Jinhang coughed and stood up, walking towards the direction of the visitor. Murungfu and Bai Chaofei also moved quickly to the front of the visitor. Meet the Deputy Pavilion Master. Meet the Deputy Pavilion Master of the South Pavilion. Shangwen Jinhang's address was inconsistent with the other 2. But the identity of the visitor has been revealed. The Deputy Pavilion Master of the South Pavilion of Xian'ai Pavilion. Such a stunning beauty is actually the Deputy Pavilion Master of the South Pavilion of Xian'ai Pavilion. Pang Tong, who was next to the 12th prince, had a gleam in his eyes. If you want to die, you can get in touch with her. The 12th prince said coldly, but his eyes also lit up. He didn't expect that the Deputy Pavilion Master of the South Pavilion of Xian'ai Pavilion would be such a peerless beauty. Although the person behind her was also stunningly beautiful, she did not have the attractive temperament of the leading woman. Perhaps the brilliance of the leading person overshadowed the person behind her. Although Qin Juilin was amazed by the beauty of the other party, he was the strongest and his mind was not that of an ordinary strong man. Perhaps in the eyes of a strong man, a beauty would also turn into a skeleton. Who are you? Qin Yuan calmed his mind and said in a deep voice, Yao Yu, the Deputy Pavilion Master of the South Pavilion of Xian'ai Pavilion. Yao Yu said. Her voice was cold and detached from the world, but it also revealed a sense of pressure. Yao Yu, the Deputy Pavilion Master of the South Pavilion of Xian'ai Pavilion. Since Deputy Pavilion Master Yao Yu has appeared, then you will give me, Zhenwu Garden, an explanation. Qin Yuan looked at Yao Yu and said, I'll give you, Zhenwu Garden, an explanation. This is the Money Gang of Shangwen Jinhong, the manager of our South Pavilion. Manager Qin came to our Money Gang to cause trouble. Shouldn't he give us, Xian'ai Pavilion, our explanation for the South Pavilion? Yao Yu stared at Qin Yuan coldly and raised her slender palm. The palm was slender, white as jade. A force of energy appeared on it, and the figure moved, appeared in front of Qin Yuan, and slapped out with one palm. The palm became crystal clear. But Qin Yuan's face froze when he saw this scene, and he raised his palm and clenched it into a fist. The devil roars. A punch was thrown out, and the strong true energy turned into a roaring force of energy, and lightning appeared and collided with Yao Yu's palm. Bang! The palms of the two collided. A terrifying force of energy broke out from the place where they fought, sweeping all around. The figures of the two retreated slightly at the same time. But when both sides retreated, the two figures did not stop at all and rushed out again at the same time. Yao Yu slapped out his palms again and turned into 7 or 8 palms. Slapped towards Qin Yuan. Qin Yuan's fists kept hitting. His figure also rushed towards Yao Yu. For a while, only 2 figures were seen intertwined, and waves of air burst out from the place where they fought. The gravel on the ground kept shooting out and was finally swept into powder by the air. Bang! The 2 figures separated. Yao Yu's expression was still calm, but Qin Yuan's face was a little ugly. He didn't have any advantage in the fight just now. His eyes were fixed. Judging from the situation of the fight just now, the opponent's strength was not weaker than his. But leaving like this, using Zhenwu Garden to complete Xian'ai Pavilion, this is what he does not allow. With a fierce look in his eyes, Qin Yuan stepped suddenly, and the blood in his body burst out like a mountain torrent. Suddenly, an extremely powerful aura burst out from Qin Yuan. A red light appeared in his eyes. Fierce blood demon fist. Qin Yuan shouted, and rushed out again. Blood light filled his palms, and the true energy in his body quickly condensed and merged with the blood light, to form a terrifying energy. And a blood-colored shadow appeared behind him. At this moment, Qin Yuan used the divine power of the sea concentrated strong man. Seeing this, Yao Yu did not hesitate, and all the true energy in her body burst out. A vague female figure appeared behind her. The vague figure was very similar to Yao Yu, and was crystal clear. Mengai Gong slapped out with one palm. The energy in the palm formed a vortex, which merged with the energy in the body. The energy slapped out formed a vortex around. The 2 people made a move, and a dark cloud appeared around the world for a while. Boom! The palms of the 2 people collided with each other. The powerful energy formed a wave and spread to the surroundings. All the surrounding air was blasted away by this energy, to form a vacuum area. The 2 figures also retreated violently. But behind the retreating Qin Yuan, a grey figure appeared. Then a sword light suddenly flashed by, extremely fast. Swish! One of Qin Yuan's arms flew up under the sword light, looking for death. Qin Yuan roared and slapped the man with the sword. But at this time, a force of energy caught the figure back, but the force of energy from the furious Qin Yuan still made the figure spit out blood. The arm that drew the sword also fell down, and it seemed that it was injured by the force of energy. The one who made the move was Jing Wuming, a person who was not noticed by many people. Qin Yuan injured Shangwen Jinhang. Jing Wuming would desperately make the other party pay the price. Chapter 608, 5 Great Concentrations, Encircling and Killing Emperor Wu Hao. This, Qin Yuan's arm was cut off. It was totally unexpected. Yao Yu looked at Qin Yuan with a broken arm, her eyes slightly condensed. But she didn't make a move. Qin Yuan, who had a broken arm, she didn't have the habit of taking advantage of others. She looked at Jing Wuming who was pulled back by her, and shook her head. Before she came, she had talked to Yuan Suan about Jing Wuming and Shangwen Jinhang. Yuan Suan told her some news. Qin Zhuoyuan's face was gloomy after his arm was cut off, but his momentum did not change. He really didn't expect that after he fought with Yao Yu, someone would attack him. And the timing of the attack was very accurate. When he attacked, he saw the flash of the knife, and when it touched his arm, the sword energy burst out in an instant. Otherwise, even if he was in a hurry, his arm would not be cut off by the other party. Although his realm was not high, he was a very dangerous person. Boom. At this time, a terrifying divine power appeared in the direction of Emperor Wu Hao's mansion. That's the divine power of Emperor Wu Hao. Seeing this situation, some people's expressions changed. Something happened in the Emperor Wu Marquis mansion. Some people said, in a blink of an eye, some people attacked in the direction of the Emperor Wu Marquis mansion. At this time, the Emperor Wu Marquis mansion was filled with killing sounds. The guards in the Emperor Wu Marquis mansion appeared in teams with bows and crossbows, and shot out densely. But the next moment, a group of black-clothed men appeared behind them. Dozens of hidden weapons appeared in the hands of these black-clothed men, and flew out in an instant. A large number of guards fell down. Moreover, these guards were quickly cut, and could not be gathered together at all. Suddenly, a knife light appeared. It chopped towards the black-clothed men. But the knife light was directly split by an outstretched arm. A burly figure rushed out, with surging energy on his body. A punch was thrown towards the knife-wielding Emperor Wu Marquis commander Mu Xiangshan. Mu Xiangshan looked ferocious. He had never expected that this group of people would forcibly attack the Emperor Wu Marquis mansion in the daytime. The 3,000 guards were completely disrupted by the other side, and could not gather together. The sword in his hand was full of energy. He wanted to kill the person who had just blocked his sword energy with one sword. The energy gathered into the long sword in his hand, and a terrifying sword light appeared. Die. At this moment, his mind was suddenly suppressed by a huge momentum. His head was buzzing, his eyes were blurred, and the true energy in his body was shaking. Not good divine power. A strong man with concentrated spirit in the sea. Mu Xiangshan was shocked. But in this short time, the opponent's hand had already landed in front of him, and the palm as hard as steel grabbed his head. Crack. Mu Xiangshan's head was taken off in an instant. Blood flew everywhere. Seeing Mu Xiangshan's death, a figure holding an iron stick rushed out. But when he rushed out, a figure appeared behind him. The figure was slender, like a ghost. It was Zhang Xianmei, one of the 7 killers who had gathered before. The palm stretched out silently, and went behind the man holding the stick. The man holding the iron stick, sensing the danger behind him, swept the long stick across, and the wind whistled. But what he hit was a residual image. Then 2 black silver needles appeared instantly. The man holding the stick screamed. He covered his eyes with his hands. Boom. At this moment, the burly man who had attacked earlier punched out and smashed the man holding the stick's head. At once, 2 Danshanhua high-level warriors in Emperor Wu Hao mansion were killed. Leave it to them next. 4 Danshanhua high-level warriors, plus others, can completely deal with these chaotic guards. The graceful figure who fell said. After speaking, the figure went towards the hall of Emperor Wu Hao mansion. At this moment in Emperor Wu Hao mansion, Emperor Wu Hao looked angry, and his aura was violent like thunder, and his eyes were fixed on the 3 people in front of him. The first place in the assassin list of Zenfu Division, one of the 2 leaders of Life and Death, Sheng Wuming. Emperor Wu Hao looked at the other party with cold eyes. The 3rd Song Lunhu, I wonder who that is. King Long Society, Yan Shizhen. Yan Shizhen said. His eyes were also fixed on Emperor Wu Hao. Hearing about King Long Hu, Yan Shizhen, Emperor Wu Hao's eyes condensed. He could feel the terrifying sword intent from the other party. Behind Emperor Wu Hao, 2 figures, one black and one blue, looked alert. I'll stop them. You take my family away. Emperor Wu Hao sent a voice message to the 2. Emperor Wu Hao really didn't expect that these people would dare to attack his Emperor Wu Hao mansion in the daytime. A moment of relaxation. Let Emperor Wu Hao mansion become like this now. The 2 looked at each other without any hesitation. The figures quickly entered the meeting room and fled from the meeting room. Yan Shizhen and others did not stop the other party. The purpose of their coming was to take away Emperor Wu Hao's head. Others were not their targets. Kill. Just after the 2 left, the Life and Death Shang Wuming, a black light appeared around his body, revealing a terrifying light in his eyes, and his body flashed. As fast as lightning, he attacked Emperor Wu Hao with a palm. When he attacked, a terrifying black shadow appeared behind him. Emperor Wu Hao's eyes were cold, and he quickly slapped out with his palm, colliding with the palm of Shang Wuming. There was a bang. The sound was terrifying, and the airwave swept across the surrounding houses and corridors. Under this air force, they were instantly shattered. Emperor Wu Hao took a step back, but Shang Wuming, who had made the attack, fell behind by several steps, and a trace of blood flowed on his mask. In a frontal attack, Shang Wuming was no match for Emperor Wu Hao. At this moment, Song Lun who appeared behind Emperor Wu Hao and slapped out with his palm. The retreating Emperor Wu Hao slapped back with a palm, and the air force was violent. Song Lun who had made the attack, had a fixed look in his eyes, and his body retreated rapidly. He did not intend to collide with the other party head on. His body moved like a ghost. At this time, two figures appeared in the courtyard. They were the big man and Xian Mei from before. Kill. Xian Ming crazy split. The burly big man punched out, and the true energy on the punch surged, forming a hurricane. Get out of here. Emperor Wu Hao's eyes turned cold, and he shouted in a low voice. He clapped his hands. One palm slapped at the burly man, and the other palm slapped at the black-clothed woman Xian Mei. Boom. The palms of the three people collided, and Emperor Wu Hao was shocked back several steps, while the two people who attacked also retreated several steps. Their auras were chaotic, and there were some cracks in the meridians on their arms, and blood was spilling. TSK. TSK. Two black needles appeared in the mouth of the retreating black-clothed woman. The speed was very fast. Emperor Wu Hao raised his arm when he retreated. The true ki flowed on his arm. He wanted to resist the two black arrays, but the black needle penetrated the true ki and pierced his arm. Emperor Wu Hao's body condensed when he saw this. Immediately, the blood and ki in his hands circulated, condensed into terrifying blood and ki, and shook the black needle away. But at this moment, Shang Wuming, Song Lun and Yan Shizhen, who had attacked earlier, drew their swords at the same time. The three forces were like a storm in an instant. Immortal true demon. Emperor Wu Hao roared, and a huge energy appeared around him, protecting him. Bang. However, his body was still hit by three forces, and flew back into the hall. A mouthful of blood spurted out of his mouth. The powerful energy directly collapsed the house. A rumbling sound was heard. Five figures stared at the collapsed house. Chapter 609. Furious Battle. Emperor Wu Hao desolate. Boom. A figure shot out from the crowd. It was not Emperor Wu Hao who appeared. Instead, it was a big man with chains tied to his hands, with disheveled hair and a terrifying aura. Behind him, the figure of Emperor Wu Hao appeared. There was a spot of blood at the corner of his mouth. The previous blow had injured him. Although injured, Emperor Wu Hao's eyes were still fierce. He looked at Yan Shizhen and others standing there with a sharp gaze. Kill them. Emperor Wu Hao shouted. The big man with chains tied to his hands in front of him roared and attacked the five people. The iron chain in his hand flew out, and a fierce aura swept towards the crowd along with the iron chain. With the violent force, there was a feeling of sweeping everything. Boom. The burly man in the front stepped on his foot, and a terrifying aura burst out from his body, and a terrifying divine power condensed on him, not appearing outside the body, but condensing inside the body. The terrifying aura made his body swell up. His eyes were grinning. The puppet of Emperor Wu Hao dares to rush towards us. I will kill him. The fist in his hand blasted out, and the ki force collided with the iron chain like a wave. Boom, the iron chain collided with the fist. There was a rumbling sound. The power of the collision, a terrifying force spread out in all directions, collided with the air, and the air became hollow, and the ground trembled. The surrounding houses, the houses that had not collapsed yet, collapsed instantly under this wave of air. For a time, dust flew like a sandstorm. After the two hit each other, they rushed again and collided quickly. Boom, the burly man's fist penetrated the iron chain and punched the iron chain man, but the iron chain man did not care about the injury on his body, as if the injury on his body did not exist. Crazy roar. The iron chain in his hand tied up the other party's body, and then the body collided with bang. The ki force on the man's body burst out and collided with the fierce ki on the other party. The body of the chained man was shaking, but the opponent ignored the opponent's key gang and continued to charge and collide. Boom boom boom. The fourth collision. The key of the burly man was shattered, and blood spurted out of his mouth again. Go to hell, die. The burly man smashed the opponent's body with his fist. The opponent continued to resist. At this time, the opponent's hands suddenly became claws and grabbed the burly man's arm. A bloody red light burst out from his palm and pierced into the opponent's arm full of ki. Crack, breaking the opponent's arm. Swish, then tore off the opponent's arm. Ah. The burly man let out a low roar, and the other arm also became a claw and grabbed the opponent's heart fiercely. He wanted to grab the opponent's heart out, but at this time, the chain on the chained man's arm turned and quickly locked the opponent's arm. At the moment of locking the opponent's arm, his body continued to hit the opponent. Bang! At this moment, a huge force exploded, and both sides shot at the same time. But the other arm of the big man who made the move was also pulled down by the chain under the violent impact of the two men. The big man screamed. At this time, Chen saw this and appeared in front of the big man with chains like a ghost, and his fingers stabbed at his eyes like poisonous bees. Roar. At this time, Emperor Wu Hao roared. Dragon roars and tiger roars. And a terrifying dragon and tiger figure appeared behind him. The powerful roar made Chen pause. During this pause, the Iron Chain Man rushed towards Chen. Bang! Chen body was knocked back. Blood spurted out of his mouth when he landed on the ground. But at this moment, Song Lun who appeared behind the big man with chains and slapped his head with one palm. The speed was so fast. Bang! The palm fell. But blood flowed from the top of the other person's head, but it did not smash the other person's head. Roar. The intense pain made the big man with chains even crazier. He roared and blasted at his side, the chains dancing like a hurricane. But Song Lun who appeared at his feet. He grabbed his feet with his palms, and a burst of ki burst out, knocking his body down directly. Bang! His body fell to the ground. Dust flew up from the ground. The previously injured Chen landed in front of him and inserted two fingers into his eyes. Ah! The chained man screamed. The chains in his hands were flying, and his body was extremely fast. Chen moved to leave, but at this time a violent momentum swept towards her, causing her body to delay slightly. The chains swept over her body. The whole body was cut in half by a chain. There was not even a scream. But at this moment, behind Emperor Wu Hao, Sheng Wuming appeared. His palms turned into claws, and he grabbed the other party's heart with one palm. After the roar, Emperor Wu Hao seemed not to feel the other party's palm. Bang! The back was hit by the other party. At the moment of the hit, a huge ki rushed into the other party's body, and the whole person flew backwards. He crashed into the previously collapsed house. Some dust buried him. At this time, the Iron Chain Man with his eyes pierced on the ground roared. A low and terrifying voice burst out from his mouth, forming a wave of air that swept around. For a moment, a terrifying sound wave attacked everyone's ears. The previously collapsed building. Under this sound wave, it vibrated and fell again. The Emperor Wu Hao was hit by a palm and his body was completely covered. Die. Song Lun who appeared in front of the Iron Chain Man, and his palm grabbed the other's head again. The terrifying energy burst out in his hand. Swish, the other's head was taken off. At this time, a figure stood up from the ruins. Yan Shizen's long sword slashed out instantly, and the sword light was sharp. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the other party and split the other's ki gang with a sword. The Emperor Wu Hao who stood up was cut in half by this sword. Blood spurted out, and the two halves of the body fell to the ground. Yan Shizen's eyes condensed when he made the move. He vaguely felt that something was wrong, but at this time, many figures were already rushing here. Yan Shizen wanted to move forward, but at this time, a figure appeared in front of the two halves of Emperor Wu Hao's body. With a sword, he instantly cut off the two halves of the head and wrapped them in black cloth. A thick smoke appeared around him and disappeared in front of them. The face of Sheng Wuming, who was wrapped in a black robe, changed when he saw this, and a hoarse sound wave came out of his mouth, and the sound wave swept. But no clues were found. The head was taken away by someone. They can't get the bounty, because the head is the best proof of the bounty. Looking for death. Looking for death. At this time, several terrorist attacks came towards Emperor Wu Hao's mansion. Go. Other Wu Hao are coming. Song Lunhu said to Yan Shizhen. Yan Shizhen did not stop and turned to escape. Shang Wuming, who was in the life and death room, changed his face and turned to leave. If he attacked Emperor Wu Hao during the day, there would definitely be other people to support him. He was very unwilling. He took a look at the body of Emperor Wu Hao and turned to leave quickly. At this time, the assassin who had appeared earlier with Emperor Wu Hao also quickly fled. Chapter 610. Three warlords appear. Sheng Wuming follows. Emperor Wu Hao mansion. Three figures rushed into the ruined courtyard. Their eyes fell on the headless corpse on the ground. One of them, a broad-shouldered man with a jade-like face, showed anger on his face. These assassins are so bold to attack Emperor Wu Hao mansion in broad daylight. We should report to the military and ask the military to dispatch and kill all these assassins. Although this man's face was as white as jade, his words were fierce and murderous. King Wu Hao, one of the four great war marquesses, spoke. While he was speaking, two figures rushed into the courtyard. They were the two people who were called away by Emperor Wu Hao earlier. One was wearing black clothes, and the other was wearing a dark blue robe. Zhu brothers. Seeing the two men, one of the three, a burly man wearing a brocade robe and exuding a murderous aura, spoke. Zhang Wu Hao, one of the four great war marquesses. Please, three war marquesses, find our marquis head and avenge him. The two immediately knelt down in front of the three. We will definitely do our best. King Wu Hao spoke. If the head is taken away, it will probably flow out of the capital quickly. It will be very difficult to retrieve it. However, Emperor Wu Hao is the first of the four great war marquesses of the Great Zhao dynasty. It is absolutely unacceptable for someone to cut off his head after his death. This is a shame for the four war marquesses. Thank you, three war marquesses. Let's clean up the body first. The two knelt down to thank him. Then they stood up. The man in black stepped forward to put the two halves of Emperor Wu Hao's body together, and a piece of white cloth appeared in his hand to wrap Emperor Wu Hao's body. On the other side, the dark blue man came to the man holding the iron chain and picked up his body. You arrange the situation of Emperor Wu Hao's mansion first, and the three of us will go to the military headquarters. Another man in gorgeous clothes and with a majestic aura spoke. There was no special aura on this man. He looked like a scholar, but he was the strongest of the four war marquesses except Emperor Wu Hao. You Wu Hao. Yes. The two bowed and took the two bodies away. Looking at the two people walking out of the courtyard, the three people looked unhappy. Let's go to the military headquarters. After saying that, the three of them quickly headed for the military headquarters. At this moment, many warriors also rushed to the Emperor Wu Hao mansion and saw the messy and bloody Emperor Wu Hao mansion. Everyone's eyes were filled with horror. Then they heard that Emperor Wu Hao was killed and his head was cut off. Many masters made wedding clothes, and the last one took advantage and cut off Emperor Wu Hao's head. Some people knew the news, and their faces were full of horror. Boom. At this time, three teams of soldiers in armor quickly approached Emperor Wu Hao mansion. The three teams were soldiers from the other three warlords. Within 10 breaths, no warriors are allowed to appear within a mile of Emperor Wu Hao mansion. If a warrior appears, he will be strangled. A leader of the three teams said sternly. What? Hearing these words, the warriors who came were shocked, but then they immediately began to flee. Some strong men did not dare to stay when they saw this. At this time, you must never doubt the words of these soldiers. It's just that some warriors reacted slowly. When he came back to his senses, he was surrounded by soldiers. He wanted to say something, but the soldiers who surrounded him didn't give him a chance to speak. The blood in the spears in their hands pierced their bodies like a dragon. Soon, the area around Emperor Wu Hao's mansion became silent, and there were some bodies with blood holes in their bodies. Some bodies were quickly laid out in the mansion and covered with white cloth. There were three bodies in front of the Zhu brothers, the chained man, Mu Xiangsheng, and the man holding the iron rod. The two looked sad. They put the bodies of the three people into the coffin. As for the headless Emperor Wu Hao, he was placed in the coffin in the mourning hall that had been set up. At this time, on the other side, Yan Shizhen and Song Lunhu stopped. The two did not dare to stay in the city. They did not dare to underestimate the great Zhao dynasty. Brother Yan, do you know who the black-clothed man just now was? Song Lunhu suspected that it was the people from the Qinglang society behind Yan Shizhen. I don't know, that's not our people, Yan Shizhen said in a deep voice. Normally, the head of Emperor Wu Hao should be taken away by the people of Qinglang society. But someone took the lead. Hearing Yan Shizhen's words, Song Lun Hu's eyes changed slightly. Do you think it could be someone born without a name? He was just in Emperor Wu Hao's mansion and quickly separated from us, Song Lun Hu said in a deep voice. Yan Shizhen's expression changed slightly. Whether it is him or not, he can't take the head of Emperor Wu Hao away. Let's go first. Yan Shizhen continued to move forward. At this time, in another dense forest, a black figure fell. Holding a black package in his hand, he looked around and was very alert. Suddenly, a black figure also appeared behind him. The figure silently raised his hand and grabbed the other's head with a palm. Just when the palm was about to fall, the black figure suddenly turned around, and the long sword in his right hand suddenly came out of the sheath. The sword light slashed out violently. The sword energy whistled, cold, and slashed towards the face of the man in black. The man in black secretly said that it was not good. The figure retreated rapidly, but the man who drew the sword with his backhand moved his footsteps and shot towards the other party, and the long sword in his hand continued to cover him. Life and death are unpredictable. The man in black shouted, and his palm was full of ki, which turned into countless ki, and went towards the sword light. Boom. The two forces collided. The two figures retreated at the same time. Shang Wuming, I didn't expect you to be able to catch up, but catching up is your biggest mistake. The black-clothed man holding the package looked at the person who was shocked back by his sword light with cold eyes. Between life and death, killer, Shang Wuming. HMPH, hand over the head of Emperor Wu Hao, and I will let you go, Shang Wuming said in the same cold voice. Before he finished speaking, the man on the opposite side moved his footsteps and shot towards him in an instant. The long sword in his hand slashed violently again, and the sword light formed a sword energy storm, and a vortex formed in the storm, suppressed the surrounding air. Shang Wuming's face remained unchanged. He had just attacked the opponent, but failed to kill him. He knew that the opponent was not an ordinary master. The energy in his palm surged, and a terrifying divine power erupted from him. But when the divine power appeared on him, a sharp whistle sounded from the opponent's sword light. When the whistle sound appeared, his mind moved instantly, and the divine power he had condensed was in a state of disintegration. The opponent didn't want him to use the divine power and attract other people. And at the moment when his mind moved, the fierce sword light instantly enveloped his whole body, and a cold feeling instantly invaded his body. A shadow of death emerged in his heart. Seeing this, he could only slap his palm full of true energy frantically. However, the energy he slapped was torn apart by the sword light. Finally, the sword light appeared above his head and fell down instantly. Shang Wuming wanted to move his body, but the opponent's sword energy suppressed the surrounding air, restricting his speed of movement, and his body only moved a little. Swish. The right arm that had attacked earlier was instantly cut off by the sword light. Ah! Shang Wuming let out a scream, and all the blood and energy in his body exploded wildly. He broke free from the restraints and retreated quickly into the distance. Chapter 611. Fu Hongxue draws his sword, Yajiu Tajima no Kami, and Yajiu Piaxu kills. Blood was flowing, and he covered his arm with one hand and retreated quickly. He didn't stop for a moment, and fled into the depths of the dense forest. He was injured when he fought with Emperor Wu Hao. He had thought of sneaking up on him, killing him, and getting Emperor Wu Hao's head. But he didn't expect the other party to be so powerful. He was injured, and his divine power was broken by the other party. Now he has a broken arm, so he can only run away. If he doesn't run away, he will die. But when he was running away, a man in black clothes and a little lame appeared in front of him. The man had a black long knife in his hand. He was walking towards him step by step. It was Fu Hongxue from the Qinglang Society. Fu Hongxue also appeared in Emperor Wu Hao's mansion, but he didn't make a move. When the man in black left with Emperor Wu Hao's head, he followed. But he didn't make a move. But Shang Wuming, who followed behind, made a move first. Shang Wuming's figure paused rapidly. When he paused, the man in black who was walking slowly before flashed and turned into a residual shadow and appeared in front of him. The long knife in his hand slashed down. The knife light instantly pierced through the dense forest like a thread, like a meteor, sweeping towards him with a terrifying knife force. Shen Wuming was shocked. He wanted to raise his hand to resist, but his right arm was cut off, leaving only his left arm, and he slapped out with a palm. But under the knife light, the palm force he blasted out was instantly split into two, and then in his horrified eyes, the knife light fell from his head. His body was split into two. The seriously injured and disabled He Zhanning Shen was no longer He Zhanning Shen in Fu Hongxu's eyes. After the knife light, dragging a lame foot, Fu Hongxu continued to walk forward. Not far from him, the man holding a package in his hand looked at Fu Hongxu, who was walking step by step with a serious look. He did not leave, because just when Fu Hongxu appeared, a breath locked him. "Who are you?" The man in black looked at Fu Hongxu. Fu Hongxu did not reply to him, but continued to move forward. His purpose was to get the head of Marquis Di Wu in the other party's hand, and also to take the other party's life. The news that Marquis Di Wu's head was in their hands could not be leaked. Seeing Fu Hongxu not speaking, the man in black condensed his eyes. This time he put down his left hand holding the package. The person who appeared was not the injured Shen Wuming, and he needed to treat him with all his strength. And he sensed the murderous intent emanating from the other party. The other party would not give him a chance to leave. Two cold rays shot out from his originally solemn eyes, and his footsteps moved, and his figure quickly went towards Fu Hongxu like a fleeting light. Only a residual image was left on the ground. It is the most correct to take the initiative at any time. The figure appeared, and the long sword in his hand slashed out in an instant, and the thunder-like sword light exploded like thunder, attacking Fu Hongxu. The long sword in Fu Hongxu's hand was also unsheathed in an instant. The sword light was also extremely fast. Clang clang clang, the thunderous sword light and knife light collided violently, generating a wave of power that caused the air to burst and spread in all directions. Some gravel on the ground was shaken away and flew towards the surrounding trees. Kai kai kai, the trees were hit by these gravel, and some small trees cracked instantly. Boom. After a fierce battle, the two figures shot out at the same time. Both sides had extremely solemn eyes. Kill. The black-clothed man retreated, his figure soared into the air, and slashed with the long sword in his hand. When he slashed, Fu Hongxu also moved, and the knife in his hand flashed, hitting the opponent's long sword. But when it collided with the long sword, the knife energy burst instantly, turning into several knife energy, and heading towards the opponent's various vital points. The opponent's eyes changed. Ki appeared around his body to resist the sudden burst of knife energy, and his figure retreated rapidly. The long sword in his hand flashed, and silver light appeared, blocking Fu Hongxu's way forward. Fu Hongxu, who repelled the opponent with one blow, had a divine power on his body, and a knife shadow burst out behind him. He couldn't stay here with the opponent for too long, so he used his divine power directly. Stepping into the sea and concentrating his mind, the divine power he nurtured was the knife power. The knife shadow appeared, and the black long knife in his hand became more ordinary, but the face of the black-clothed man opposite him was extremely solemn. He raised the long sword in his hand. A divine power also appeared on his body. He couldn't cut off the opponent's divine power as before, so he could only burst out his own divine power. Divine power, Xianxia blood sword. The black-clothed man shouted. He raised the long sword in his hand, and a bloody aura burst out from his hand. Boom, the two attacked at the same time. The sword energy and the knife light collided instantly, forming a vortex like a storm, spreading rapidly around. The terrifying force shook the two figures back at the same time. Just when the black-clothed man was shocked back, two figures suddenly emerged in the dark. They appeared silently with the help of the Swanton energy storm. The god of killing cuts with one sword. Snow floats in the world. Two sword lights flashed. The black-clothed man who was shocked back was first shattered by the sword lights, and then pierced through the body by the sword light. All this happened in an instant. There was no delay in between. With a plop, the black-clothed man fell to the ground, and the direction he looked at was exactly where he had put the package before. But the package had disappeared in that place. There was reluctance in his eyes, and there was no breath. Two figures appeared in front of each other. It was Yajayu Tajima and Yajayu Piaraksu. Among them, Yajayu Piaraksu poured out the corpse powder in his hand and dissolved the bodies of Shen Wuming and the black-clothed man. After the two bowed slightly to Fu Hongxue, they left quickly. Fu Hongxue looked at the two pools of corpse water on the ground, turned around and disappeared into the dense forest. Not long after, two figures appeared here. They looked at the fights around them, and the two pools of corpse water on the ground. Their faces were gloomy, and they turned around and left quickly. Another place. Zenwu Garden Qinjuan stepped into the meeting hall in a somewhat embarrassed manner. He went to the money gang originally to intimidate the scoundrels, but he did not expect to lose an arm and a strong man in the Danshan Huahei realm. This time, Zenwu Garden is completely using its reputation to make wedding clothes for Shianaya Pavilion. Crack. Crack. The remaining palm clenched into a fist, the veins on the back of the fist bulged, and a series of crisp crackling sounds came from the joints. His face was gloomy and terrible, and there was a murderous intent in his eyes. Shianaya Pavilion, I will remember this grudge. Qinjuan said fiercely. Shianaya Pavilion is not simple. You need to calm down and wait to check whether they have other masters entering the capital, and then we will make plans. At this moment, there were still two people standing in the meeting hall. One of them looked at Qinjuan and said, one of the two people was wearing a green robe. His face was a little old, but his hair was black. The other person was a burly monk wearing a yellow cassock, and with his chest half naked. The monk's half naked body looked like a diamond. There was also a string of huge prayer beads hanging on his chest, each of which was the size of a fist, which looked very shocking. Standing there, he looked like a diamond. The one who spoke was the old man with a somewhat old face. Chapter 612, Evil Alliance, Falling God Pearl, Taizong Tang, Iron Blood Banner. Hearing the old man's words, Qinjuan did not say anything, but walked into the hall and sat down. At this time, the head of Xiansheng Hall walked in from outside. Seeing the two people in the hall and Qinjuan who had a broken arm, his face immediately changed, but he immediately stepped forward to salute. Meet the general manager, meet the two elders. How is the matter of Emperor Wu Hao handled? Qinjuan looked at the head of Xiansheng Hall and said, Emperor Wu Hao was killed, but his head was taken away by someone. Although the head of Xiansheng Hall did not take action, he entered the Emperor Wu Hao mansion and watched the battle in the dark. He recounted the situation at that time. The 5 C's concentration masters took action, and 2 people were killed and injured, and they were taken away by someone. What a pity. Qinjuan sighed and waved his hand. The head of Xiansheng Hall bowed and left. He came back in a hurry and didn't know what happened to the money gang. But looking at this situation, he knew that the money gang had a serious change. He needed to understand it. Kashik Xingqiu, you were in the dark at that time. Why didn't you join hands with me to deal with the deputy leader of the South Pavilion of Shianaya Pavilion? Qinjuan said in a deep voice to the monk in the cassock after the Xiansheng Hall master left. The other party can't come alone. You have a backup plan, and they also have a backup plan. Do you really want me, Zenwu Garden, to fight Shianaya Pavilion? Once a strong man with a concentrated spirit in the sea dies, Shianaya Pavilion will definitely counterattack us. Zenwu Garden. Xingqiu sat down and said, do we, Zenwu Garden, need to be wary of this Shianaya Pavilion? Qinjuan's face was extremely gloomy. This time, Qinjuan lost a lot of face. Not only did he return without success, but he also had his arm cut off. We need to be wary. The old man in green who spoke earlier said, now that Shianaya Pavilion has appeared, the 3 pavilions of the East, South and North, and a 10-direction general envoy, we need to pay special attention to the 10-direction general envoy compared to the North Pavilion, the East Pavilion and the South Pavilion. Because the 3 pavilion masters and the 10-direction general envoys, judging from the intelligence we have gathered, should all be top-notch C concentrated masters. If we fight temporarily, it will not be a good result for our Zenwu Garden. The old man in green said in a deep voice. Are we going to help Shianaya Pavilion like this? Qinjuan was obviously a little unwilling. How could it be? Shianaya Pavilion must pay the price for the loss of face of our Zenwu Garden. You from Shianaya Pavilion should have come here for the matter of the full moon on the 15th day of the full moon. The Evil Alliance secretly sent a message that one of the things they took out this time can help the sea concentrated strongman to gather a stronger divine power. As for being able to kill the target, they will send out the falling god pearl. What? Elder King, are you saying that the evil alliance is going to take out the falling god pearl this time? Kim Ju-eun's face showed surprise when he heard about the falling god pearl. It can be seen that this falling god pearl is not ordinary. The owner of the garden sent an order to let us do our best to obtain the falling god pearl, so the matter of killing Yaoyu will be put off until after the full moon on the 15th day of the full moon. After the full moon, Yaoyu will die, and we can also push this matter away. The old man in green said. I understand. Let's do this according to what you said, Elder King. I will announce to the public that I will be in seclusion to heal my wounds in the next few days. Kim Ju-eun said. Chai-Ji and Semiran King Chen read the two secret letters in his hand. His face changed slightly. One was about the killing of Emperor Wu Hao. The other three of the four great warlords went to the military department together to find the military giants, hoping that the military giants would order the killing of the assassin who attacked Emperor Wu Hao. However, the military giants did not agree, but handed the matter over to the Zenfu division. Let the Zenfu division handle this matter. Now the giants of the Zenfu division are discussing this matter. It is estimated that no good results will be discussed. As for the other matter, the deputy pavilion master of the South Pavilion of Cheyenne Pavilion, Yaoyu appeared, a woman who made women look a little surprised. How do you see it? There is a sense of turmoil in the capital. Is there something that I don't know? Now the capital has such a change. Muran Kington feels that something big is going to happen, and this matter should not take too long. What on earth happened that the Cheyenne division didn't find out? When she said this, Muran Kington's face changed. Maybe it wasn't that the Cheyenne division didn't find out, but maybe it was just that she, the head of the division, didn't know. Although she secretly asked the people of the Qinglang Society to kill the deputy head of the division, Lang Jiacheng. But a few days later, Ling Cheng, who was previously the chief eunuch in the imperial palace, brought the imperial edict and became the deputy supervisor of the Cheyenne division, in charge of the most powerful divine god of the Cheyenne division. And he only came to the Cheyenne division for the first time, and then he didn't come to the Cheyenne division again. Muran Kington knew about this. It was Emperor Zhao's intention that the divine gods didn't let her move. Everything Muran Kington did before became futile in an instant. What exactly does my father want to do? Muran Kington asked herself. Maybe I can go see Bai Chaofi, maybe he knows something. Muran Kington thought to herself. Jiangnan Jinling City Su Chen, who was originally preparing to leave for the capital, did not leave Jinling and go to the capital. Because Yajayu Tajima Marimasa rushed to Jinling from the capital with the head of Emperor Wu Hao. He was going to the black market to take the head of Emperor Wu Hao away with a bounty. The amount involved was too much, and Su Chen was afraid of accidents, so he stayed in Jinling. Moreover, there were too many changes in the capital, especially the death of Emperor Wu Hao, and the three great war marquesses in the capital were besieging and killing some warriors. Su Chen had no plan to go to the capital for a while. Although he had a Yan Kuang to experience card, there were also masters around him, but Emperor Wu Hao died, and Yan Shizhen was openly involved. If he went to the capital now, it would definitely attract attention. So Su Chen decided not to go to the capital for the time being. He now has a new goal, which is Paradise Palace. Paradise Palace is not simple, and it may be related to Du Guwei, so he wants to secretly investigate Paradise Palace in Jinling. By the way, take the bounty of Emperor Wu Hao from the black market. However, Cheyenne Pavilion and Qinglang Hu are somewhat weak in the capital, so Zeman Chuksu and Yi Guchen were sent to the capital by Su Chen. Because Hua Liu sent a message. In this attack on the Emperor's master, the evil alliance took out the Falling God Pearl. According to Yuan Suan's investigation of the Falling God Pearl, if the Falling God Pearl is integrated into the body, it can help the warrior to condense a second kind of god. The Sea of Soul concentrating strong men all condense one kind of god. If there are two gods, then these two gods will conflict, and then the conflict will cause the god to dissipate. Falling God Pearl has such ability, and the Sea of Soul concentrating strong men want to get it. Therefore, the power of the Cheyenne Pavilion and Qinglang Society in the capital must be increased. Standing by the window, Chen took a look and got 2 orange lottery cards in his mind. These 2 orange lottery cards were obtained from some ancient books that Zhuangji found for Chen. Draw it out. Congratulations on obtaining the character Taizantang. Congratulations on obtaining Taizantang's exclusive weapon, the Iron Blood Banner. Chapter 613. One man, one flag, entering the capital. Taizantang. Chen was slightly surprised. He had drawn a trial card for Taizantang before. At that time, the trial card showed the opponent's strength of the Sea of Concentration. Now that he has officially appeared, I wonder how strong he is? Taizantang, a character in the legend of the heroes of the Big Flag, the head of the iron-blooded Big Flag sect, is also the first of the 3 sons in Gulong's novels. He is known as unparalleled wit, unparalleled tenacity, and unparalleled chivalry, a representative of chivalrous men, and a disciple of the Night Emperor's wife and the Night Emperor. In the later period, his strength surpassed that of the Night Emperor, and became the #1 hero in the martial arts world at that time. When he was mentioned in the era of Chu Liuxiang, he was famous and unparalleled, which shows his status in the martial arts world. Checking the information of this person, Chen's face showed a slight surprise. He thought it would be the same as the trial card he had drawn before, but it was not. At this moment, Taizantang's strength was in the Sea of Concentration, and the notes behind it were broken and Sea of Concentration, and he also had an exclusive weapon, the iron-blooded Big Flag. It can be said that he was given a very high configuration at the beginning. After all, Taizantang's weapon in the novel is a black-sheathed longsword. The Iron Blood Banner deployed this time is probably no less powerful than Guan Yushin. It can be said that he now has a high-end combat force in his hands. Taizantang's inheritance belongs to Night Emperor, so Taizantang can be placed in the North Pavilion. Although his strength now exceeds Night Emperor, he can inherit Night Emperor and be Night Emperor's eldest disciple and deputy leader of the North Pavilion. Now Golden Wind and Rain Tower is under the North Pavilion. Previously, Night Emperor and Future had a short alliance with the Evil Alliance. As the deputy leader of the North Pavilion, Taizantang came to the capital in person, which is normal. Holding the Iron Blood Banner, he stepped into the capital. Even if the capital is changing at this moment, Taizantang can still shock one side. Now that Jiaoyu of the South Pavilion has appeared, together with Taizantang of the North Pavilion and the 4 Masters of the Sea Concentration of King Langhu, they should be able to cope with the changes in the capital. Taizantang still came at a very timely time. Chen immediately used up Taizantang's character card and summoned Yuan Suan, asking him to tell Taizantang about the situation in this world, as well as the situation of King Langhu and Xian'ai Pavilion, and then asked him to rush to the capital immediately. The 15th day of the capital, the night of the full moon, is approaching. We must get there as soon as possible. Then Chen himself sat cross-legged on the bed and began to practice. Although he is now quite powerful and rarely makes moves, he still has to practice hard. Overlord, since he has come to this world, he has never been a king, but he must become the overlord of the world. At this time, in another place, in a small courtyard, the candlelight in the secret room was weak. Zhao Xiaodi was sitting next to a square stone platform, as if waiting for someone. Time passed little by little. A woman in simple clothes pushed open the door and stepped in. "You are here." Zhao Xiaodi looked at the woman who came in and said, "Did you ask King Langhu to do the death of the master?" The woman looked at Zhao Xiaodi with a serious look. "Don't you already have the answer? I sent you away and went to Shanman to find young Dragon Master Su, and you should have thought of it." Zhao Xiaodi said calmly. "You killed the adults and let the Qinglang Society take away the cash prepared in the Paradise Palace. I heard that the Palace Master has sent people to investigate the matter secretly. I believe that with the means of the Palace Master, it won't take long for him to find you. You should leave Jinling City." The woman said. "Leave? I can't leave. You know that our daughter is actually a furnace for others to practice. There is something wrong with our practice. I can't hide, and I don't want to hide. Now I have found a backer. As long as I give the Paradise Palace to the other party, I can get more trust from the other party." Zhao Xiaodi said. "Backer, you rely on young Dragon Master Chen of the Qinglang Society. Hearing this, the woman's expression moved slightly and said, "Yes." Zhao Xiaodi nodded and continued, "Now I need your help. You have followed my master for so many years. I think you should know where the palace master of Paradise Palace is." The woman listened to Zhao Xiaodi's words and shook her head and said, "Although I have followed your master for many years, I really don't know the situation of the palace master. The palace master of Paradise Palace is very mysterious. When your master was summoned, it was always late at night, and he went alone," the woman said in a deep voice. Hearing the woman's words, Zhao Xiaodi frowned slightly. Although she knew that she couldn't get anything out of her previous thoughts, she still felt a little disappointed when she really didn't ask. "I don't know the whereabouts of the palace master, but I know someone who has a similar status to your master and is also in charge of a branch in Jinling City." When Zhao Xiaodi looked lost, the woman said in a deep voice. Hearing this, Zhao Xiaodi's face lit up. "Where is that person? How strong is he? I still need to find out where he is. His strength is about the same as your master's. He is only at the Danshan Transformation Sea. But I once heard your master say that he has a sister who is with the palace master. Maybe we can find out the news about the palace master of Paradise Palace from this line," the woman said in a deep voice. "Okay, find out the news about that person as soon as possible," Zhao Xiaodi said excitedly. "Come here tomorrow and I will give you the news." The woman nodded and said. After that, she walked out of the courtyard. Zhao Xiaodi did not stay here and left quickly. Jinling City at night is different from the Imperial City. There is no curfew here, and it is open all night. It looks like a city that never sleeps. After the woman separated from Zhao Xiaodi, she walked through a sparsely populated street. After walking for an unknown amount of time, she came to an inconspicuous residential courtyard. She stepped into the courtyard very cautiously. Inside the courtyard, a woman in black and a veil was standing in the courtyard, blending in with the darkness. Only a little shadow could be seen with the help of the moonlight. "How is the investigation going? Who betrayed Paradise Palace?" The woman in black and veil looked at the woman who came in and said coldly, "I have confirmed that the killer who killed you is from Qinglang Society and was hired by Zhao Xiaodi. The batch of cash should be in the hands of Qinglang Society. I have revealed some information as agreed in advance and will inform Zhao Xiaodi of the specific information tomorrow," the woman said with a bow. "Zhao Xiaodi, the disciple of Yugu Yaoji. I never thought that she would die at the hands of her own disciple. It's really unexpected. Zhao Xiaodi dared to betray Jile Palace, so she can't stay. But now the whereabouts of the batch of cash in the hands of King Long Hui is the most important. According to the plan tomorrow, we will capture Zhao Xiaodi and the people she invited, and then we will definitely be able to find the whereabouts of the batch of cash. As long as we can find the batch of cash, I will report to Palace Master, and you will take over the position of Yugu Yaoji," the woman in black veil said. After speaking, she jumped out of the courtyard and disappeared quickly. The woman in the courtyard showed a look of surprise on her face. But she didn't know that in the dark, a figure saw the whole scene just now. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 614, Mutual Calculation. Paradise Palace. The disabled old man. In a courtyard, Wei Zhuang was standing in the hall, and Zhao Xiaodi stepped in. "Meet the leader." Zhao Xiaodi bowed. She had joined Wei Zhuang's army, so she did not call Wei Zhuang the Seven Dragons, but called him the leader. "How did it go?" Wei Zhuang said. "She met a woman in black, and our people followed the woman in black and lost her." While Zhao Xiaodi was talking, she took out a map of Jinling City from her arms. "The place where the woman in black veil disappeared is this area." She pointed to a place on the map. Wei Zhuang looked at the place where Zhao Xiaodi pointed. "This area, is there anything special around it?" "This place is where the rich businessmen in Jinling City gather, and it is close to the largest lake in Jinling City, Qin Lake," Zhao Xiaodi replied. He looked at Wei Zhuang. At this time, Wei Zhuang's eyes were looking at the small island in Qin Lake. Sir, you suspect that the Paradise Palace is on the island? That's unlikely. When I was selected as a candidate for the Honorable Lady of the Paradise Palace, I was brought into the Paradise Palace. It was the rainy season. If I were on the island, there should be moisture, but there was no moisture in the palace. Zhao Xiaodi said. Many things you can't think of can be done. Wei Zhuang is different from Zhao Xiaodi. Where he comes from, solving the moisture in the palace is not a problem at all. The key is to investigate this place. Give me a detailed report on the situation on this Kinhu island. Wei Zhuang said. I will sort it out overnight. Although Zhao Xiaodi didn't believe it in her heart, she saw that the leader looked very confident, so she had to sort out the news of Kinhu island as soon as possible. After speaking, he bowed and left the courtyard. Wei Zhuang in the hall pondered for a moment. His figure moved and turned into a residual shadow, rushing towards a place. The place he went to was the Kinhu mentioned earlier. Although he asked Zhao Xiaodi to sort out the information about Kinhu, but he wanted to personally explore Kinhu Lake at night. Kinhu Lake in a pavilion. The woman in black veil appeared in front of a palace-dressed beauty. My lord, we have found out that the killer of Jade Bone Fairy was a killer from the Qinglang Society, and the batch of cash should be in the hands of the Qinglang Society, the veiled woman reported. Qinglang Society? We have no grudges against them, so why would they attack us? Hearing this, the palace-dressed beauty frowned slightly and said, yes, Zhao Xiaodi, a disciple of Jade Bone Fairy, hired a killer from the Qinglang Society. According to observation, the pure yin qi of the 9 yin heavenly Changong on Zhao Xiaodi's body disappeared. It should be that Zhao Xiaodi gave the pure yin qi of the 9 yin heavenly Changong to the young dragon leader of the Qinglang Society. The black veiled woman continued. It seems that Zhao Xiaodi used her own pure yin qi to exchange for the attack of the Qinglang Society. The pure yin qi on them was prepared for my son. Since Zhao Xiaodi's 9 yin Qian Gong pure yin qi is gone, there is no need to keep her. Let's get rid of the assassins from the Qinglang Society together. The palace-dressed beauty said coldly. Then she seemed to think of something. The Qinglang Society is not simple. The four of them may not be able to kill them. Let the old man Candy attack together and bring back the batch of cash. The black veiled woman waved her hand. I understand. The black veiled woman quickly withdrew. At this time, in a pavilion, Wei Zhuang's eyes condensed slightly. Originally, he wanted to deal with the other party slowly, but from the other party's mouth, he could know that the person sent by the other party was not simple. The figure disappeared into the darkness. His current strength is not this person's opponent. Need help to report. After a while, Wei Zhuang appeared in Su Chen's room. The master of the Paradise Palace is in Kinhu, and Zhao Xiaodi and the others are making furnaces for the son of the master of the Paradise Palace. They are also planning to surround and kill you. Su Chen's face was a little surprised. Zhao Xiaodi was already under Wei Zhuang's command, and the affairs of the Paradise Palace were handed over to Wei Zhuang. He didn't know about the arrangements and plans for some things. This time Wei Zhuang came because he felt that the situation was difficult and asked him for support. Yi Guchen and Zeman Chuxu had already left Jinling and went to the capital. The only strong man around him at the moment was Taizong Tang, who was preparing to go to the capital tomorrow. Does Taizong Tang have to take action? Su Chen thought to himself. In addition to Taizong Tang, there are also the four ghosts of Xiangxi. They can fight together with the Sea of Condensation. They can help Wei Zhuang for the time being. Thinking of this, Su Chen found that Wei Zhuang's own strength and his masters were a little insufficient. After Yajiu Tajima no Mori comes to Jinling, let him stay in Jiangnan to help Wei Zhuang. All plans remain the same. Our goal is not to kill as many people as possible, but to find the cache of Paradise Palace. Su Chen said. Paradise Palace is a gold mine, and they want to get the other party's cash. I understand. After receiving Su Chen's reply, Wei Zhuang bowed and left. The next morning Taizong Tang came to Su Chen. In his hand, he held a spear-shaped weapon wrapped in a blood-red flag. The tip of the spear was blood-red and emitted a cold light, which made people look bloodthirsty. Taizong Tang came here to say goodbye to Su Chen. He was going to the capital. In his eyes, light surged. In the previous life, ED, and people who would be familiar in the future, could have news in this world, and belong to the same camp, plus the world of rivers and lakes in this world was magnificent. Especially now that the capital was surging. Let Taizan Tang have the mentality of stepping into the capital, and fighting against the strong in this world of rivers and lakes. Before you leave, I may need your help to deal with something. You need to go with me to Wei Zhuang. He needs some help. Su Chen briefly explained the situation last night. Master, don't worry. I will leave for the capital after I finish dealing with it. According to my speed, I will reach the capital in a few days. Taizan Tang said. Thank you for troubling Deputy Pavilion Master Tai. We will leave in a while. We won't need weapons on the way there. Deputy Pavilion Master Tai, I will temporarily keep your iron-blooded flag for you. Taizan Tang's iron-blooded flag is a significant symbol. This time when Taizan Tang goes to the capital, he will definitely become a world-famous strongman, and his weapon will definitely be a highlight. For the time being, the Qinglang Society does not want to have an open relationship with the Chianaya Pavilion. Therefore, Taizan Tang cannot show up and appear with Su Chen, the young leader of the Qinglang Society. Taizan Tang handed the iron-blooded flag to Su Chen. Su Chen put the iron-blooded flag into the storage ring. Then he gave Taizan Tang a black cloak and mask. The group left the ship. Another place old Mandy can. He is a sea concentrated master in the Paradise Palace. I remember that he has taken action twice. The first time was with the third manager of the black market. Although I don't know the result of that battle, since then, the Paradise Palace has reached a cooperation with the black market. The second time, the Yuan Palace in Jiangnan robbed a batch of our goods, which was brought back by old Mandy Can from the Yuan Palace. Zhao Xiaodi told Wei Zhuang the news about old Mandy Can. There was also surprise in his eyes. He didn't expect that old Mandy Can sent by the Paradise Palace would come to deal with them. Chapter 615, Brutal Wei Zhuang, cutthroat with one blade, 100-step flying sword. Leader, do we still have to go meet the other party? Zhao Xiaodi asked. Wei Zhuang's strength. Although she didn't know Wei Zhuang's true strength, she could sense that Wei Zhuang's strength had not reached the level of the Sea of Concentration. And she also knew that Li Guchen and Zeman Chuksu had left Jinling and were not with Su Chen. There should be no other. The plan remains the same. No need to change. You notify the other party that this time we will meet outside the city at the ruins of the palace on the west slope. You don't have to go there. After saying that, Wei Zhuang turned and left. Zhao Xiaodi is still in the observation period, and it is not time to completely trust her. I will bring some people back and hand them over to you. You must ask about other cash places in Paradise Palace as soon as possible. Wei Zhuang left, but his voice rang in Zhao Xiaodi's ears. The tone was affirmative. He would bring the person back. Outside the city of Jinling, on the west slope, there is the site of a dilapidated palace. It is rumored that this palace was the site of a prince of the previous dynasty, but it was destroyed too badly and gradually became a wasteland. A figure appeared in front of the dilapidated palace. It was the person who met Zhao Xiaodi last night. He stepped into the palace. His eyes condensed because there was no one in the palace. There was no sign of Zhao Xiaodi. Give me the information of that person. A low voice sounded in her ears. As the voice appeared, Wei Zhuang walked out of the dark. Sir? The woman saw Wei Zhuang coming out of the dark and said in a deep voice. This is not something you should ask. Wei Zhuang's voice was very cold. The woman felt herself being swept by a chill, and she took out a letter from her bosom and immediately handed it to Wei Zhuang. Wei Zhuang turned his palm, and a burst of energy grabbed the letter in his hand. The moment he grabbed the letter, his body suddenly moved, turning into a residual image, passing in front of the woman. The knife flashed. The woman's head flew up in an instant, and fell to the ground, without any change in her eyes. Wei Zhuang's move was too fast just now, causing the other party to die without noticing at all. His figure moved forward towards the palace. Suddenly, his figure quickly retreated behind him. At the moment he retreated, there was a bang. A violent knife light suddenly appeared and fell in the sky above the ground where he was previously. On the ground, gravel was flying. As the knife light fell, a figure appeared. After this figure appeared, swish, Three swift and fierce figures rushed into the palace with wild laughter. The four men exuded a terrifying murderous and bloody aura and stared at Wei Zhuang with sinister eyes. King Long Society, you are so bold that you actually attacked my paradise palace. Tell us where the cash is, and we will leave you a whole body. The leader looked at Wei Zhuang and grinned. He didn't care at all about the woman whose head fell on the ground. Wei Zhuang's face was calm, and his eyes were calm as he looked at the four people. Among the four people, only one was in the Danshan Transformation Sea, and the others were all in the 9 difficulties of heaven and man. It was not quite what he imagined. He thought that these four people were all in the Danshan Transformation Sea realm. Boom. Wei Zhuang moved, and his footsteps suddenly exerted force. He appeared in front of one person, and the shark tooth in his hand instantly chopped out. Boom, but when Wei Zhuang moved, the other 3 of the 4 appeared and attacked instantly. One of them drew his knife, one of them punched, and one of them shot out several scarlet tail needles in his hand, which turned into a violent dim light and swept towards Wei Zhuang. The person in front of him sneered. A punch was thrown out. The flaming key burst out on his fist and attacked the shark tooth in Wei Zhuang's hand. The 4 of them have been working together for many years. They will not give Wei Zhuang a chance to kill alone. Boom. The ground exploded instantly, and the true key rolled, forming a thick smoke. But Wei Zhuang disappeared in the thick smoke. He appeared behind the man with the flaming energy. His eyes were cold, and the shark tooth in his hand slashed out instantly at a very fast speed. The terrifying sword energy burst out from the shark tooth and slashed on the opponent's body. Bang! The man who was slashed away by the sword, and a mouthful of blood spurted out of his mouth. The man who made the move, Wei Zhuang, flashed and rushed out of the palace, looking for death. Seeing their brother injured, the other 3 people were furious and rushed out immediately. The man who was cut wanted to get up, but the moment he got up, a burst of energy burst out in his body, and he spit out blood again. Wei Zhuang's sword made him lose the strength to fight. He slowly supported his body with his arms, sat cross-legged and began to heal his wounds. 3 figures rushed out of the palace with Wei Zhuang, but Wei Zhuang suddenly stopped, turned his body, and his energy, blood, and energy burst out at the same time. Across the 8 directions, the shark tooth in his hand turned into a violent sword light, which instantly swept towards the 3 people. Everyone thought Wei Zhuang was running away, but they didn't expect Wei Zhuang to fight back. The sword energy is everywhere. The fist is the best in all directions. The 2 people who rushed in the front attacked instantly, and the fist force and sword energy collided with Wei Zhuang's sword energy. It blocked Wei Zhuang's counter-attack, but Wei Zhuang seemed to have known that his move would be blocked. The footsteps moved again, turning into a residual image, and appeared in front of the man with a faint light in his hand. He must die first, if he can use hidden weapons. The backhand just now was an opportunity for him to kill this person. Die. Wei Zhuang said harshly, and the shark tooth in his hand was instantly released again. The 100-step flying sword attacked instantly, and the man who rushed out had not reacted yet, and a sword light appeared at his throat. The 100-step flying sword is the highest sword in Giguzi's Anhang sword technique, which is known as one blade cuts the throat. The 100-step flying sword Wei Zhuang attacked with all his strength. This person's strength is only the 9th difficulty of heaven and man. How can he not die? Plop, the body fell to the ground unwillingly. I want to die. The man who punched earlier, seeing this, punched out again, and terrifying energy burst out from his fist. The man holding a long sword next to him was filled with sword energy, and he slashed with the sword. The terrifying sword energy was like the Milky Way, and it slashed out in an instant. The sword energy was rampant and fierce, and he didn't hold back at all. If they had thought of keeping Wei Zhuang alive and finding the batch of cash before, they would not have that chance now. They wanted to kill Wei Zhuang. The sword energy was violent and fierce, and the fists were fierce. But this time Wei Zhuang didn't move, and all the energy in his body burst out. There was only one Danshan Huahei and one Shinran Jiunan left. He didn't need to dodge anymore. He could just kill them directly. Boom. The sword energy surged, and the sword slashed out. A terrifying red sword light burst out from the shark tooth in Wei Zhuang's hand. He collided head-on with the opponent. Bang! 3 forces collided. The true energy was raging, and the two people who attacked retreated violently, while Wei Zhuang's body only moved slightly. "I'll send you on your way." Wei Zhuang blocked the opponent's attack and shot out. He swung the long sword in his hand and slashed it out. The sword energy was violent, and a dazzling sword light was emitted, slashing towards the two people. The two people who had just been repelled by the sword had not yet stabilized their bodies. They saw a terrifying sword light sweeping over. "How dare you!" At this time, a wave of air appeared in the air, and the wave of air formed ripples like a scroll unfolding, blocking Wei Zhuang's violent sword. Wei Zhuang's body was also repelled several steps by this wave of air. Chapter 616. One punch breaks the divine power. One flag kills the concentrated mind. Looking in the direction where the key was just emitted, two figures came. One was dressed in black, with his face covered by a veil, and the other was dressed in a pitch black robe. His figure was like a withered bone, his eyes were sunken, and his eyes were extremely cold. There was no trace of flesh on his exposed fingers. At first glance, the other party was completely lacking in ki and blood. But the one who just launched the attack should be the other party, and it was also the old man with a broken face that he heard from the master of the Paradise Palace last night. Wei Zhuang stopped and inserted the shark tooth in his hand into the ground. The old man with a broken face from the Paradise Palace? He wanted to confirm the other party's identity. "I didn't expect that you knew me, and dared to attack my Paradise Palace. You are very brave. You have strong ki and blood. I have absorbed your ki and blood. I believe that it will be able to keep my ki and blood full for a long time." Hearing Wei Zhuang's identity, the skinny old man's expression did not change, but his tone was cold. "Who are you?" The woman in black gauze beside the old man spoke. "Wei Zhuang, the 7th dragon head of the Qinglang Society. Today I really want to experience the strength of the sea concentrated strongman." Wei Zhuang looked at the disabled old man with cold eyes. "You want to challenge me without condensing any divine power, and you have turned your danshan into the sea. I don't know where you get the confidence from, and I don't know how people like you can survive until now." The skinny old man's eyes became cold. The black-veiled woman beside him had a slightly condensed look when she heard Wei Zhuang's identity. She didn't expect that she would meet the 7th dragon head of the Qinglang Society this time. Hearing the old man's words, "It doesn't matter whether you are alive or not. What's important is that you may be able to help take that step." At this moment, Wei Zhuang's momentum burst out instantly, and his long white hair began to flutter. Bang! He kicked the ground with his foot, and his figure shot out instantly, and the shark tooth in his hand instantly slashed out with a sword. "You want me to be a stepping stone? Do you have the qualifications?" The thin eyes were murderous, and he knew what Wei Zhuang meant, that he wanted to use him to take that step. He raised his palm, which was as dry as a chicken claw, and chopped it out with one hand. A force of energy came out from his palm, hitting the long sword like a rainbow. When he attacked Wei Zhuang, he only felt a terrifying recoil force erupting from the shark teeth he attacked, and the long sword trembled slightly. He turned his body and retreated at a very fast speed. Dissolve this force. At the moment of retreating, a terrifying aura erupted from the skinny old man. "Do you think I will give you a chance? I will get rid of you in one move." As the words fell, an extremely powerful and terrifying force appeared behind the old man. There was a black shadow in this force, and the shadow exuded a terrifying yin aura. The terrifying aura swept towards Wei Zhuang. A terrifying airwave formed around Wei Zhuang. In this airwave, the energy in his body was suppressed, especially the terrifying roaring sound appeared in his mind. One of the attacking abilities of the divine power is to attack the mind. In Wei Zhuang's mind, a terrifying figure appeared. The figure was overwhelming, with scalded eyes, looking at Wei Zhuang coldly. Under this pressure, his mind felt like it was gradually disintegrating. "Get lost," Wei Zhuang growled. When his mind was about to disintegrate, he growled. Bang! But his body was still shaken by this terrifying momentum and flew backwards. He hit the broken wall and spurted out a mouthful of blood. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and struggled to stand up from the ground. His face was full of smiles. He had just broken through the opponent's divine power suppression. He had a feeling in his heart. Although this feeling was not much, he believed that he would continue to condense it over time. He could step into the sea and concentrate. Sky Claw. At that moment, the skinny old man made a move and grabbed with his palm. He wanted to cripple Wei Zhuang's limbs and take him back. But at the moment when his palm grabbed, bang, a figure suddenly appeared. A punch was thrown, and the terrifying bloody aura burst out from the fist, like a bloody sun hitting the opponent's divine power range. Bang! His divine power was instantly shattered by the opponent's fist. He could only claw at the opponent with one claw. The claw force was sharp, but the claw force was directly dispersed when it collided with the fist force. Bang! His body was shaken back several steps by this blow. When he retreated several steps, a red light appeared behind him. Then a blood cloth covered his head. Seeing this, the skinny old man's face changed, and a terrifying true energy appeared on his body, forming a huge key. But the blood cloth was instantly retracted. A cold light instantly fell from the air above his head. Swish! The burst of true energy had no effect under this light, and was pierced through, and fell on his head. Suddenly, blood and white mixed flowed out. The skinny old man's eyes were unbelievable. He was killed by the opponent's weapon piercing his head. He looked in the direction of the person who had attacked before, but he saw that it was a person in black clothes, and he couldn't even see his face clearly. Plop! The body fell to the ground. Swish! Swish! At this moment, the previously seriously injured Wei Zhuang moved, his figure flashed, and he instantly came to the front of the man holding the long knife. At this moment, the man holding the long knife was in shock, and he didn't expect Wei Zhuang to make a move. The whole person was cut in half by Wei Zhuang's sword. As for the other man who punched, he was next to the man with the knife, with blood all over his face. He was shocked, and fled to the distance in an instant. But Wei Zhuang didn't give him a chance to leave. His body turned into a residual image and attacked instantly. He killed the opponent with a sword. Without the spirit of the Shinran Jiunan warrior, even if Wei Zhuang was injured, he was still slaughtered. On the scene, only the woman in black clothes and black veil was left. At this time, her eyes were terrified. She didn't expect that the old man Kan was killed by the comer. She looked at the man in black clothes with horror. Step. Step. At this time, 2 footsteps sounded in this silent space. It was Su Chen and Yuan Suan. The terrified woman in black looked in the direction of Su Chen and them. Su Chen, the young leader of the Qinglang Society, you are in Jingling. It seems that you know me, so come with us. Looking at the other party, Su Chen said softly. She wanted to know from the other party where the cache of the other branches of the Paradise Palace was. According to his speculation, Du Guiwei had left 50 million taels, which should be raised by the Paradise Palace. He took away 10 million taels before, so there must be 40 million taels. I will not go with you. No matter how strong you are, you can't take it away. A trace of blood flowed from the corner of the mouth of the black-veiled woman, and then her body fell to the ground. Why cut off your heart and die? You are not the only one left alive. Su Chen looked at the body lying on the ground. Deal with these bodies. Take the man in the hall away, and find out the whereabouts of the other cache, as soon as possible. Su Chen said to Yuan Suan and Wei Zhuang. Chapter 617. Celestial Immortals List. Nangang Qiushu, Liusha, and the 4 Heavenly Kings. Qinhuan Aloft. A beautiful lady in black palace dress was standing by the window of the loft, looking at the hazy lake outside. A figure appeared in a corner of the loft like a fleeting light. Her skin was creamy, her eyes were like autumn water, her nose was straight and upturned, and she had a pair of charming red lips. Her face was stunningly beautiful, like a fairy descending to the earth. Nangang Qiushu, one of the 4 noble ladies of the Paradise Palace, was also the second most beautiful woman in the world, ranking 1 place higher than Zhuangji on the Great Zhaoshan Immortal list. Old Man Dickon and the others are dead, and their bodies are gone. However, according to the situation of the fight, there were at most 2 people who took action. The Qinglang Society is more complicated than you think, and they may have found you. Nangang Qiushu said. His tone was very calm, as if the 2 were talking on an equal footing. Hearing Nangang Qiushu's words, the Black Palace dress beauty pondered for a moment and said, I will hide for a while, and the affairs of Paradise Palace will be arranged by you for the time being. This is the Paradise Order, which I will temporarily give to you for safekeeping. A token flew out of the sleeve of the Black Palace dress beauty. Nangang Kyushu raised her hand, grabbed the token, turned and left, and disappeared on the hazy lake without leaving a trace on the water. Nangang Kyushu has good talent, and only such a woman can match my son. The Black Palace dress beauty turned and entered the room. Another place. Zhao Xiaodi watched the pale-faced Wei Zhuang carrying a person and stepping into the hall. I think he should know the situation of other branches of Paradise Palace. I'll leave this matter to you to ask. Wei Zhuang threw the person on the ground and said, the heartless Zhongshan slave of Paradise Palace. At this moment, Zhao Xiaodi saw the other person's face clearly, and a look of surprise appeared on her face. I will definitely ask about the situation of other branches today. Zhao Xiaodi picked up the unconscious Xianu and immediately left the hall. After Zhao Xiaodi left, a black figure appeared and half knelt in front of Wei Zhuang. Chief, Nangang Kyushu just went to Kinhu, and then the pavilion master of Kinhu Xianyu pavilion disappeared. The person reported. The action is quite fast. Keep an eye on Nangang Kyushu. Wei Zhuang ordered. Yes. The person left quickly. After the person left, Wei Zhuang also returned to his room. Just now in the battle, although he had comprehended a trace of divine power, his body was also injured, so he needed to heal. In addition, Su Chen also gave him the concentrated mind pearl he had obtained earlier. It can help him condense his divine power as soon as possible. As for when Su Chen returned to the building ship, Zhuangji was already on the building ship. Master, my father wants to see you. Zhuangji stood in front of Su Chen and bowed. The real owner of the third bank, Zhuang Mingfen, one of the 5 richest businessmen in the world. I also want to meet your father. For the time being, I will not leave Jinling, so there is plenty of time. You can arrange it. Su Chen said. Hearing this, Zhuangji's face showed joy. Previously, she thought that Su Chen was going to leave Jinling for the capital. Unexpectedly, he would stay in Jinling City. Master, these are some rare Taoist books collected by my father. I brought them all to you. After saying that, he pointed to a delicate small box not far away. Jinling, one of the most prosperous cities in the Jiangnan region, with a very rich heritage. He wanted to trigger some rewards here, so he asked Zhuangji to help collect them. Then I won't bother you, Master. I'll go back and talk to my father first. Zhuangji bowed to Su Chen and left. Su Chen opened the small box. He picked up a few rare books and began to read them. Rare Taoist book Dao Chan Sutra. Reward 1 orange lottery card. The first book brought Su Chen 1 orange lottery card. However, when reading some other rare books, only 3 orange lottery cards were triggered. These rare books gave him a total of 4 orange lottery cards. In a good mood. Just draw these 4 lottery cards. Acquired the Quicksand Organization, Beifeng, Kailan, Kanglang Wang, Wuxiang Gui. Yes, the 4 heavenly kings of the Quicksand Organization. This is to add some masters to Wei Zhuang, but I don't know how strong these 4 people are. Su Chen checked the strength of the 4 people. Not bad. Beifeng and Kailan's strength is in the 9 difficulties of heaven and man, and Kanglang Wang and Wuxiang Gui's strength is in the 7 difficulties of heaven and man. This wave, Wei Zhuang's side has also increased a few masters. At this time, Jin Fengxi Ilao in the capital, Bei Chaofei put down the secret letter in his hand. A hint of joy appeared on his face. It seems that you have something to be happy about, Nalan Rangayan asked. Tai Zongtang, the deputy pavilion master of the North Pavilion of Xianaya Pavilion, will come to the capital soon. Bei Chaofei said. Tai Zongtang, the deputy pavilion master of the North Pavilion. Nalan Rangayan's beautiful eyes showed doubts. She knew very little about Xianaya Pavilion. But when the pavilion master of the North Pavilion of Xianaya Pavilion, Yi, and the deputy pavilion master, Future, appeared before, the strength they showed was only the Danshan turning into the sea. In the current situation in the capital, a strong man whose Danshan turns into sea will not be of much use. This deputy pavilion master Tai is the disciple of pavilion master Yi, but his strength has surpassed Yi and has reached the level of concentrating in the sea. What's more, he has a special weapon. I believe that even in the capital, there will not be many people who can make him fight with all his strength. Bei Chaofei said. What? Hearing this, Nalan Rangayan's face showed shock. She didn't expect it to be like this. You contact the Evil Alliance in this way and inform them of the news that Deputy Pavilion Master Tai Tang of the North Pavilion is coming, and say that Deputy Pavilion Master Tai wants to see them. Bei Chaofei said. He already knew Tai Tang's strength in the secret letter. With such strength, there is no need to keep a low profile when entering the capital. Yaoyu came silently. But Tai Tang, the Deputy Pavilion Master of the North Pavilion, such an unparalleled strong man does not need to keep a low profile, and Bei Chaofei also wants to use this to expand the reputation of Golden Wind and Rain Tower. Okay, I'll arrange it right away. Nalan Rangan nodded. Bei Chaofei showed strength comparable to Dan Shenhuahei in the battle in front of the Jinqian gang, and with the appearance of the Deputy Pavilion Master Yaoyu of the South Pavilion of Xian'ai Pavilion. The power of Xian'ai Pavilion in the capital has increased a lot, which provides them with security. Jinfengxiaoyu Tower has also correspondingly gotten out of the predicament. What's going on over there at Zenwu Garden? They shouldn't just accept it after suffering such a big loss. Bei Chaofei asked afterwards. Zenwu Garden is very peaceful now. After Qin Juan was injured, he announced that he would go into seclusion, and there has been no news recently. Nalan Rangan said. It seems too peaceful. What are they planning? Maybe it has something to do with the full moon on the 15th day. The full moon on the 15th day is coming soon. I think they may want to wait until that matter is over before taking action. Nalan Rangan said. Bei Chaofei's mind moved. Nowadays, many masters have secretly arrived in the capital, but they are all lying on their backs. They should be waiting for the full moon on the 15th. However, the Imperial teacher has great power. He must have received the news, but there was no movement, which made people very confused. Chapter 618, King Lang Society, the 10 Great Sword Masters, Song Lun who is horrified. In another dark secret room in the capital, Keijing, Emperor Wu Hao, and a middle-aged man in black robes with a pale face. Yisheng, have you found out who took away my fake head? The middle-aged man in black robes said to Emperor Wu Hao. The middle-aged man was Yisheng, the second leader of the Evil Alliance known to the outside world. The bodies were destroyed, but according to the situation at the scene, number 5 should have been intercepted by someone first. The opponent retreated after being intercepted, but was killed by another person. And the one who intercepted number 5 should be Sheng Wuming from Life and Death, who left after attacking you. Yisheng said in a deep voice. Was it Yan Shizhen and Song Lun who did it? Keijing said. It wasn't those two people. I watched them in the dark for a while. The direction they left was opposite to the direction number 5 went. Emperor Wu Hao shook his head. Who is that person? I thought I could get some cash from Du Guwei, but I didn't expect that someone else would get it. Emperor Wu Hao looked a little angry. This time he suffered a big loss. Although he had made some preparations before, they were not fully prepared. The other party actually attacked his Emperor Wu Hao mansion in the daytime, catching him off guard. The head of the Xiansheng Hall of Zenwu Garden. Do you want to get rid of him? He is the planner of this incident. Keijing looked at Emperor Wu Hao and said. Kill him. We can kill him at any time. We won't move for the time being, and we will attack him on the 15th day of the full moon. Emperor Wu Hao said. What do you think of the two people from Xian'ai Pavilion? Keijing said. Yaoyu from Xian'ai Pavilion was able to fight Qin Juan and made him retreat. The deputy head of the South Pavilion of Xian'ai Pavilion is not simple. Whether it is cooperation or hostility, we need to be careful, Emperor Wu Hao said, after thinking for a moment. Just as he finished speaking, a wooden box popped out from the wall of the secret room. Keijing stepped forward and took out a note from the wooden box. There was a line of words written on the note. Xian'ai Pavilion's North Pavilion Deputy Pavilion Master Tai Tang will arrive in the capital in 4 days to discuss the alliance reached between Evil Alliance and their North Pavilion. Keijing put the note on the table and said, Xian'ai Pavilion's North Pavilion has a Deputy Pavilion Master at this time. The Pavilion Master of Xian'ai Pavilion's North Pavilion was only Dan Shenhuahei before, and the strength of the Deputy Pavilion Master is probably at this level. Such strength may have been very strong in the capital before, but it is not enough now. Hearing Keijing's words, Yisheng said, Xian'ai Pavilion is not simple. They must know the current situation in the capital. Under such circumstances, they dare to come to the capital. This Taizan Tang is not as simple as we imagined. Anyway, he will arrive in a few days. Let's meet this Taizan Tang first. Di Wu Hao said. How is the address of Zhenwu Garden's storage address being investigated? Di Wu Hao then asked. The things have been confirmed. They are in the Zhenwu worship hall in the deepest part of Zhenwu Garden. He Yishan said. Okay, then proceed according to the plan. Di Wu Hao said. I'll leave here first and report what happened just now to the adults. He Yishan said and left from a stone gate. Only Di Wu Hao and Keijing were left. What do you think will be the reaction of Zhenwu Garden after this incident? Keijing said. After this, Zhenwu Garden will become a ruin. There was a cold light in Di Wu Hao's eyes. It was Zhenwu Garden that organized to deal with him. Di Wu Hao. This time he must let Zhenwu Garden taste the same fate as him. 3 days passed in a flash. Since the incident of Di Wu Hao, the 3 great warlords gradually stopped killing martial artists in the capital. Di Wu Hao died. The appointment of personnel to the South China Sea area was temporarily shelved. The entire capital became quiet. Outside the capital city, in a dense forest, Song Lunhu and Yan Shizhen were waiting for people. Brother Yan, who are we waiting for this time? Song Lunhu, wearing a mask, said. Fu Hongxue, the 4th dragon leader of the Qinglang Society, and the 2 great sword masters of the Qinglang Society. Yan Shizhen said in a deep voice. After a brief contact, Yan Shizhen thought that Song Lunhu could become a friend, and also wanted to pull Song Lunhu into their Qinglang Society, so he brought Song Lunhu to meet Fu Hongxue, Yi Guchen and Zeman Chuksu. Song Lunhu was slightly surprised when he heard Yan Shizhen's words. Brother Yan, I know Fu Hongxue, the 4th dragon leader of the Qinglang Society, but what about the sword master of the Qinglang Society? Song Lunhu asked involuntarily. Fu Hongxue appeared in Jiangnan and showed the strength of a strong man with a concentrated mind in the sea. As a killer, Song Lunhu knew about Fu Hongxue, but he didn't know much about the sword master of the Qinglang Society. I haven't heard that the Qinglang Society has a sword master. I'm one of the 10 great sword masters of the Qinglang Society. Yan Shizhen said. What? When Yan Shizhen said this, Song Lunhu beside him showed his eyes full of shock. Brother Yan is one of the 10 great sword masters of the Qinglang Society. I have not seen many people who can compete with Brother Yan in swordsmanship. Song Lunhu said. He had seen Yan Shizhen's swordsmanship. It was very scary. But now Yan Shizhen told him that he was only one of the 10 great sword masters of the Qinglang Society. There were 9 others. If the other 9 were the same as Yan Shizhen, then the Qinglang Society would have at least 10 powerful sea concentrated masters. This was too scary. When he was surprised, a figure came from a distance, a lame figure, holding a black long sword in his hand, and came towards this side step by step. Fu Hongxue, the 4th dragon head of the Qinglang Society. The image of Fu Hongxue had long been circulated in the martial arts world, but they did not understand why such a person's swordsmanship was so strong. Song Lunhu, while speaking, stared at Fu Hongxue closely, with a look of shock in his eyes. The sword intent on Fu Hongxue was very cold, and when he looked at Fu Hongxue, he saw a bloody light and murderous intent all around. It was different from Yan Shizhen's swordsmanship. If Yan Shizhen's swordsmanship was about destruction, then Fu Hongxue's swordsmanship was about killing. A very scary person. Song Lunhu thought in his heart. But when he thought about it, the sword intent on Fu Hongxue disappeared, and he became like an ordinary warrior. Boom. Just after his breath changed, a figure rushed from a distance. In the eyes of everyone, the figure of the other party seemed to disappear and appear. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Yan Shizhen and Song Lunhu. The person who came was wearing a black robe, with a gloomy face, and a black devil embroidered on his robe. Between life and death, life without demons. Seeing the person coming, Song Lunhu's eyes condensed and he spoke. Song Lunhu, did you kill my brother? The person who came looked at Yan Shizhen and Song Lunhu with a gloomy face. And as he spoke, a stream of true energy burst out from his body like a mountain torrent, pressing towards Song Lunhu and Yan Shizhen. Chapter 619, Zeman Chuksu, a strong man with concentrated mind, sacrifices the sword. Boom. A burst of energy appeared on Song Lunhu's body, resisting the pressure of the newcomers. As for Yan Shizun, his eyelids only moved slightly, and he continued to stand with his sword in his arms. Fu Hongxue, who was moving forward step by step, was still walking slowly towards this side, as if he didn't see the three people in front. Sheng Wuming's death has nothing to do with us. It's useless for you to come to us, Song Lunhu said with a cold light in his eyes. Yan Shizun, you say? Sheng Wumo looked at Yan Shizun. Yan Shizun turned a deaf ear, as if he didn't hear what the other party said. Are you not going to answer me? A scarlet light flashed in Sheng Wumo's eyes. Yan Shizun, before he came, of course, knew the other party. He had killed a Jin Fihang who had just stepped into the sea to concentrate his mind. In addition, when dealing with Emperor Wu Hao, he killed the severely injured Emperor Wu Hao. Otherwise, there was no record of concentrating his mind in the sea. And when fighting against Emperor Wu Hao, Yan Shizun was not the main force. So he didn't take Yan Shizun seriously at all. He didn't take Yan Shizun seriously, but he didn't expect Yan Shizun to not look at him straight in the eye. The murderous intent in his eyes was filled with a ferocious look. Devil's hand of life and death. Instantly, he slapped out with his palm, and the terrifying energy gathered in his palm, like a demon mountain, smashing towards Yan Shizun fiercely. Yan Shizun's eyes turned cold, and his body moved, and the whole person turned into a residual image, and disappeared on the spot. Bang! Suddenly, a huge energy hit the ground. Moss flew up on the ground, and a huge deep pit appeared on the ground. The attack failed, and the opponent turned his body, and his palm slashed out, and 5 energy flew into the air. When the figure appeared in Yan Shizun's hand, the long sword slashed out. 5 sword lights were cut off. The previously calm eyes also showed a chill. Suddenly, he inserted the long sword he had drawn into the scabbard. He did not attack again. Don't fight back. Do you think I won't kill you if you don't fight back? As he spoke, his expression moved slightly. His eyes looked in one place. 2 figures walked towards this side. One of them was a little pale, with black hair and a pair of eyes like 2 cold stars. He wore a pearl crown with a sandalwood base and a white robe as white as snow. He held a long sword in his hand. His steps were very slow, and his aura was ethereal, like a king or a banished immortal from heaven. The other person was also dressed in white, standing tall and holding a long sword in his hand. The long sword was black. His face was cold, and he was aloof. He exuded a ruthlessness and eternal loneliness. That loneliness was the loneliness of the soul. 2 powerful sword masters. Sheng Wumo's pupils shrank suddenly. Compared with Yan Shizun, Zeman Chuksu and Li Guchen would attract more attention. These 2 people. Song Lunhu's eyes flashed. Yan Shizun just told him that the Qinglang Society would send 2 great sword masters. He was surprised, but also a little unconvinced. The 10 great sword masters. 10 sword masters who were concentrating in the sea. It was a bit scary to imagine, but when these 2 people appeared, he believed Yan Shizun's words in his heart. Qinglang Society really has 10 great sword masters. They are all top sword masters. He believes that there is absolutely no killer organization in the world that is so terrifying. Fortunately, they are friends, not enemies. Song Lunhu was thankful. He was able to enter a temple with Yan Shizun on the way to the capital and help him when Yan Shizun didn't need it. Who are you? Sheng Wumo looked at Li Guchen and Zeman Chuksu and said, of course. When he was talking, Fu Hongxue also passed by him and then leaned against a big tree without raising his eyes. You kill, or I kill. Li Guchen looked at Zeman Chuksu and said, I kill. Zeman Chuksu's eyes were calm, and his words were cold. Along the way, he learned about the situation in this world. In the last world, his sword was lonely, and he dominated the world, but in this world, his sword may have just begun. He has heard of Shinman. There is a great wish in his heart. A sword opens the gate of heaven. This person is the first time he has drawn a sword since he came to this world. Sacrifice the sword, the blood of the strong man in the sea. Sacrifice the sword. At this time, the gloomy face of Sheng Wumo showed a cold killing intent. The strongest person in life and death was regarded as someone who could be manipulated at will, which made him unable to conceal his killing intent. He dared to come to Song Lunhu. That was because he was confident in his own strength. Otherwise, he would not come to Song Lunhu and Yan Shizun like this. Brother Fu, Brother Yan. Yi Guchen nodded to Fu Hongxue and Yan Shizhen, and then the three of them stood together. He did not care about Zeman Chuksu fighting with life and death Sheng Wuemo. Because of the final result, Sheng Wuemo must die. As for watching the battle, they each have their own understanding of the sword, and they don't need to understand others, just sharpen their own sword heart. Boom. Sheng Wuemo moved, and rushed out in a blink of an eye. Divine power, heavenly demon claw. Sheng Wuemo used his own divine power as soon as he came up. Although he was confident in his own strength, there were 5 seal level spiritual masters here. If they surrounded and killed him, he would only die. So he had to suppress Zeman Chuksu as soon as possible. After suppressing Zeman Chuksu, he turned around and fled immediately. He believed in his speed and these people could not catch up with him. He raised his hand. His aura gathered, and a black figure appeared behind him, with a terrifying demonic aura on his figure. He grabbed with his palm. The demonic aura gathered in his palm, forming a huge claw mark, and went towards Zeman Chuksu. Cut. Zeman Chuksu did not move, whispering in his mouth. Then a white sword light appeared from his hand. The sword light was bright, and it directly split the falling claw mark. When the sword split the demon claw, Zeman Chuksu's figure flashed, and he appeared in front of Sheng Wumo like a violent sweep, and the long sword in his hand fell again. Sheng Wumo's face changed, transform into an invisible shadow. He shouted in his mouth, and his figure disappeared like a ghost at this moment. Zeman Chuksu's sword missed, his eyes slightly condensed. He underestimated Sheng Wumo a little. His eyes changed, his mind became quiet, he wanted to sense the opponent's position. Suddenly, his eyes lit up, and the long sword in his hand appeared on his body, a lonely and incomparable aura, lonely, ruthless, integrated into the long sword. With a sword, the whole dense forest changed color in an instant, and a vast cold river of sword energy appeared. Going to kill one place this. Sensing this sword, Song Lun Hutang Heng shrank suddenly. This sword made him feel powerless. He stared at the place where the long sword fell. Under the sword light, a stream of blood spurted out. With the spurting of blood, a body fell down. It was Sheng Wumo who had just turned into an invisible shadow. The center of his eyebrows collapsed. There was a huge blood mark on his chest. Blood flowed. Just now, Zeman Chuksu used a sword to kill all his spirit. Looking at the corpse of Sheng Wumo on the ground, Song Lun who couldn't help but sigh. It's really unlucky that he came to us at this time. He could only think so in his heart. Recently, the child has a serious flu, so the update time is unstable. Sorry. Chapter 620. Heaven and Earth Ghost / Mao Wanli. Killing without taboo. Lu Wuji. Boom boom. Thunder and lightning flashed over the capital, and for a moment, heavy rain fell. Zenwu gardened, in a quiet courtyard, in a side room. Kim Ju-eun was standing by the window with his hands behind his back, watching the raindrops flowing rapidly under the eaves. The left arm that was cut off by Jing Wuming before was not empty, as if it had been connected by something. The palm showed a dark golden light, which should be a mechanical arm. Are you saying that Tai Zongtang, the deputy pavilion master of the North Pavilion of Xian'ai Pavilion, is coming to the capital? Kim Ju-eun said, looking at the Xian Sheng Hall master standing respectfully in the room. I came to report to the general manager. After receiving such news, I'm not very clear about the specific source of the news. Xian Sheng Hall master said. Pay attention to Bei Chaofuif, Golden Wind and Rain Tower. He is from the North Pavilion of Xian'ai Pavilion. If the deputy pavilion master of the North Pavilion comes, Bei Chaofui should move. If he moves, come and report to me immediately. Kim Ju-eun said in a cold voice. Yes, I understand. After saying that, the head of Xian Sheng Hall left the room. Kim Ju-eun returned to the middle of the house. Inside the house, the old man king, who was wearing a green robe, was drinking a strong drink. Do you still want to do it? King Leo put down the wine glass in his hand and looked at Kim Ju-eun who turned around and sat opposite him. I just want to test the strength of this Tai Zongtang and find out his background. Kim Ju-eun said in a flat tone. Why not let Ku Xingqiu take action? King Leo said softly. I don't need Ku Taotiuo for the time being. I still have 2 people to use. Kim Ju-eun said. You have already lost 1 person. If these 2 people have any problems again, I'm afraid you will not be able to explain to the owner of the garden. The old man in the green robe frowned and said, only use one person to find out Taizan Tang's background. If Taizan Tang is killed by mistake, the momentum established by Xian'ai Pavilion in the capital will collapse, and I can also avenge my revenge. Qin Zhuoyuan said. It seems that I can't persuade you. Then I'll follow your idea. However, many assassin forces have gathered in the capital recently. Perhaps we can do both. If we want to do it, we must kill them with one strike. Old King drank the strong wine in his hand and said coldly, the reputation of Xian'ai Pavilion is not simple now. Some assassin forces may not accept it. If you want to hire someone, you may need to find a lone assassin, but these people are secretive and difficult to find. Qin Zhuoyuan said in a deep voice, I know the whereabouts of Heaven and Earth Ghost / Miao Wanli and Killing Without Taboos, Lu Wuji. These two people survived the hands of Xian Jianxi and disappeared. In recent years, Xian Jianxi has changed and they are active again. As long as we contact them and cooperate with your medicine man, do you think Taizan Tang can still survive? Old King put down the wine glass and said. Hearing what Old King said, Qin Zhuoyuan was slightly surprised. He didn't expect that Old King could find the whereabouts of these two people. These two people were two assassins who were very active during the Zhao Emperor period, but later they were hunted down by the Heavenly Supervision Division and disappeared. Unexpectedly, they reappeared now. It would cost a lot to ask them to take action. No need to pay, just give them the quota of Zhenwu Garden Elders. You have the right to do so as the general manager of Zhenwu Garden. Elder King said. Elder quota, it seems that they are afraid of hiding. Okay, tell them that if they join forces to kill Taizan Tang, they will be the elders of my Zhenwu Garden. Qin Zhuoyuan said. Taizan Tang is a deputy pavilion master of the North Pavilion of Xian'ai Pavilion. If they can kill him, they can become the elders of Zhenwu Garden. They can take action at any time, as long as they have news about Taizan Tang. I suggest killing him outside the gate of the capital. Elder King said. Wait for the news from the master of Xiansheng Hall. Elder King, has anyone in Jiangnan gone to collect the reward silver from the Emperor Wu Hao? Qin Zhuoyuan asked later. Qin Zhuoyuan was still a little curious about the fisherman who benefited. He hasn't appeared yet. With so many people watching, I don't think he will take out the head of Emperor Wu Hao immediately to claim the reward. I advise you not to try to get this cash. The person who can snatch the head of Emperor Wu Hao from the 3C concentrated masters is not simple, said King Leo. I know that the other party is not simple, but now the development of Zhenwu Garden has reached a bottleneck and needs resources. Without cash, there will be no resources. That is a heartwarming wealth that can alleviate the bottleneck of our Zhenwu Garden development. If I were not the general manager of Zhenwu Garden, I wouldn't have to worry about this. Qin Zhuoyuan sighed and said, the owner of Zhenwu Garden is not in Zhenwu Garden. All matters of Zhenwu Garden, big or small, are managed by Qin Zhuoyuan, the general manager. Of course, the C concentrated masters in Zhenwu Garden are not subject to his constraints. I will let people pay attention to the movements of Jinling City. Hearing this, King Leo nodded. Then the two continued to drink. Half a day later, the rain gradually stopped. The head of Xiansheng Hall rushed to Qin Zhuoyuan. General Manager, Bei Chaofei and Nalan Rangan from Jinfeng Xiao Pavilion took a carriage and headed towards the East City Gate. They should be going to pick up someone. I guess they are going to pick up the North Pavilion Deputy Pavilion Master Taizan Tang. The head of Xiansheng Hall said. Is it so soon? Hearing the words of the head of Xiansheng Hall, Qin Zhuoyuan frowned slightly and looked at King Leo beside him. You go down first. King Leo waved his hand. The head of Xiansheng Hall bowed and left the room. I will notify the two to take action. You go to see the medicine man, and we will meet in the East City after the matter is done. Look at this, Xian'ai Pavilion, North Pavilion Deputy Pavilion Master. I hope he won't disappoint us. After the head of Xiansheng Hall left, King Leo spoke. He was afraid that Taizan Tang, who came, was average in strength. In this case, there would be too many people taking action. Qin Zhuoyuan nodded, and the two left. At this time, in a secret room, Keijing came to the front of Emperor Wu Hao. Just got the news that Taizan Tang will arrive in the capital today. Bei Chaofei and Nalan Rangan will go to the East City to meet him. Do you want to go out and see this person? Kajing said. This person is related to our cooperation with the North Pavilion of Cheyenne Pavilion. I will naturally go and see him. Emperor Wu Hao said. East City. On a street leading to the city gate. A carriage is moving forward. Bei Chaofei and Nalan Rangan are sitting in the carriage. We released a little news earlier that Deputy Pavilion Master Tai came to the capital in person. Now we are leaving the city today. Many people are already staring at us. I'm afraid that someone will attack Deputy Pavilion Master Tai today. Nalan Rangan said. Deputy Pavilion Master Tai will let the people in the capital know our North Pavilion again. Bei Chaofei said. After knowing that Tai Zantang was coming, he contacted Tai Zantang. Cheyenne Pavilion. Although Yaoyu's appearance showed a certain momentum, it did not shock many people. After all, Qin Zhuoyuan's arm from Zhenwu Garden was cut off by Jing Wuming's sneak attack. Yaoyu's strength was not fully demonstrated. Therefore, in order to increase the momentum of Cheyenne Pavilion, Tai Zantang decided to go to the capital directly. He wanted to let people know that he was coming to the capital. If anyone attacked him, he would kill them and shock the strong men in the capital. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 621, The Hero of the World, Tai Zantang. Capital, East City. Outside the city gate, Bei Chaofei's carriage slowly drove out of the city gate and stopped at an open space outside the city. The carriage avoided the endless stream of people entering the city. In the dense forest on both sides of the road not far away, two figures appeared. They looked at Bei Chaofei's carriage. That's Bei Chaofei's carriage. It seems that the target is approaching. Do you make the first move, or do I make the first move? One of the figures spoke. The figure who spoke was a middle-aged man with a medium build and a somewhat thin appearance. He had a black long sword on his back. Heaven and Earth Ghost / Mao Wanli. Next to him, there was a slightly fat man with a slightly narrowed eyes that occasionally revealed a cold light. Killing without taboo, Lu Wuji. It was the two people invited by King Leo of Zhenwu Garden. King Leo, didn't you say that Zhenwu Garden still has one person? I think he should make the first move, Lu Wuji said. Hearing Lu Wuji's words, Mao Wanli paused for a moment and looked at Lu Wuji with a look of surprise in his eyes. You were known as Killing Without Taboos back then. Why are you so timid now? Mao Wanli said. The reason why Lu Wuji was known as Killing Without Taboos back then was that he dared to kill anyone without any scruples, so he was called Killing Without Taboos. This change now surprised Mao Wanli. Back then was back then. If I was still killing without taboos, like I was back then, I would have died long ago, and I would not have thought of joining Zhenwu Garden. To be honest, the reputation of Zhenwu Garden is not as good as it used to be, Lu Wuji said. If Zhenwu Garden is still the same as before, it would be impossible for you and me to join Zhenwu Garden and become elders. But we do need to be careful of Tai Zantang. Although the information we got earlier shows that the North Pavilion Master, Yi, and the Deputy Pavilion Master, Future, are both warriors whose stanchion turns into the sea, and Tai Zantang's strength is estimated to be at this level. It cannot be ruled out that the Deputy Pavilion Master of the North Pavilion Tai Zantang is a strong man who concentrates his mind in the sea, Mao Wanli said. As for Cheyenne Pavilion, Mao Wanli heard about it as soon as he arrived in the capital. What's more, the person to be killed now is the Deputy Pavilion Master of the North Pavilion Tai Zantang, and he has a detailed understanding of the situation of Cheyenne Pavilion. Zhenwu Garden is probably also guarding against this, so they let the three of us surround and kill Tai Zantang. I don't believe that Tai Zantang can leave alive under the siege of the three of us. When Lu Wuji said this, a dangerous aura emanated from his body. While they were talking, a burly figure came from a distance. After a while, he appeared in front of the two. He glanced at the two men, and then his eyes turned to the carriage, where Bei Chaofei was. Not finding anything, He said, "I will attack first. If I fail to kill the opponent with one strike, you should attack in secret quickly to deal with the opponent. Don't delay time." After that, he sat cross-legged under the shade of the tree and closed his eyes to practice. Seeing the big man sitting cross-legged under the shade of the tree, the two of them were slightly startled. They could feel the strong blood and energy in the other party. The two sides looked at each other. They knew that the other party was stronger than them. What's more, their previous idea was to let the other party attack first. But they needed to deal with the other party in a short time. After all, there was another Yaoyu in the capital of Cheyenne Pavilion. When they arrived at that time, they might not be able to kill Tai Zantang. Time passed. A figure appeared not far outside the city gate. This figure was not burly, but he had an unusual aura. Behind him was a wrapped flagpole. The tip of the flagpole did not reflect any light under the sun, but absorbed the sun instead. Seeing this person, Lu Wuji and Mao Wanla's eyes fixed. The burly man sitting cross-legged on the ground also stood up and looked at the person coming. This person should be Tai Zantang, the deputy pavilion master of the North Pavilion of Cheyenne Pavilion. The Tai Zantang who came out now is not the young Tai Zantang, but the Tai Zantang who has already taken charge of the Iron Blood Flag Gate, admired by the heroes of the world, and is called the best in the world. There are two precious men in Gulong's novels, the upright man and the peerless hero. One is Tai Zantang, and the other is Yan Nanshan. With such an identity, Tai Zantang's demeanor is naturally extraordinary. There is no domineering aura that makes people surrender instantly, but there is a kind of heroic aura that shocks the world invisibly. So many people know that this person is extraordinary at first sight. And those who know that Tai Zantang is coming can't help but think that this person is Tai Zantang, the deputy pavilion master of the North Pavilion of Cheyenne Pavilion. Outside the city gate, in a tea house not far away, Qin Juan and King Leo, who were wearing bamboo hats, fixed their eyes. He secretly transmitted the message. This Tai Zantang has an extraordinary aura. Compared with the previous North Pavilion Master Yi, he is even stronger invisibly. King Leo frowned when he transmitted the message. Opposite him, Qin Juan slowly put down the tea bowl in his hand, and his eyes under the bamboo hat were also extremely solemn. Here comes an extraordinary person, but even if he is extraordinary, under the siege of 3 people, he will not survive today. Qin Juan transmitted the message. After receiving Qin Juan's message, King Leo's face relaxed. Tai Zantang's appearance made his mind fluctuate. But Qin Juan's words were right. This time, it was 3 concentrated masters who took action. One of them was facing the front. The other 2 should sneak attack and assassinate. He didn't believe that Tai Zantang could avoid assassination during the battle. Another place outside the city gate, Di Wuhao, wearing a mask and a black robe, also appeared, and he also saw Tai Zantang. An extraordinary person has come to the North Pavilion of Cheyenne Pavilion, but I don't know how strong he is, Emperor Wuhao muttered. At this time, Bei Chaofei and Nalan Rangan had already got off the carriage. Nalan Rangan also noticed Tai Zantang who was moving forward. There was no carriage or horse to travel, just walking slowly step by step. Is he the deputy pavilion master Tai? Nalan Rangan was stunned and asked in a low voice. She had seen Emperor Knight and Future. Emperor Knight gave her the feeling of being hidden from the world, and Future had a kind of domineering. And this deputy pavilion master Tai was completely different from the two. He was a knight, a hero, or a brave man. It's him, the deputy pavilion master of the North Pavilion, the deputy pavilion master Tai Zantang with the strongest combat power in the North Pavilion. Bei Chaofei said. He walked towards Tai Zantang. But when they were about to step forward, Tai Zantang suddenly stopped. Because a burly figure walked out of the dense forest not far away. He stepped on the ground. A rumbling sound came from under his feet, and his whole body instantly shot towards Tai Zantang. His palm became a claw, and a claw came out. The terrifying power was emitted from the palm, sweeping towards Tai Zantang. Tai Zantang's expression did not change, and a cold light shot out from his eyes. He raised his hand, and clapped his palm lightly. The energy shot out from his palm, shattering the claw force that was attacking. At the moment, when the claw force was shattered, the opponent's figure was already in front of Tai Zantang. He clenched his palm into a fist, and a lightning-fast punch attacked Tai Tang's head. Chapter 622, Encirclement and Killing, Iron-Blooded and Invincible. Bang! Tai Tang raised his hand and slapped out with one palm. Bang! A terrifying loud noise came from the place where they fought, followed by a wave of air sweeping across, surging. The man who made the move was shocked, and took several steps back. He stomped his feet on the ground to stabilize his body. Tai Tang's body only moved slightly. I didn't expect that someone would welcome me as soon as Tai Tang, arrived in the capital. It really surprised me. Tai Tang's voice was heroic, revealing a huge momentum. The moment he spoke, the man who made the move had a cold face, and his blood and ki were boiling in his body. The terrifying blood and ki power emerged from his body. It was just that the opponent's height did not increase this time, but the moment the blood and ki increased, his ki and energy were boiling, and the two forces intertwined to produce a terrifying power fluctuation. The medicine man, before focused on physical strength. He continued to increase his physical strength, wanting to achieve one force to defeat 10 skills. The man who appeared this time was burly, and had strong blood and energy in his body. However, when his blood and energy in his body exploded, a more violent energy burst out from his body. This violent energy kept attacking his body. It gave people the feeling that he would burst and die at any time. It was a way to increase one's physical strength, cultivate powerful energy, and increase one's ability to kill the enemy. Heaven's wrath flame. The man roared, stepped on the ground, boom, the ground collapsed, the airwave rolled, and the gravel on the ground flew. The scene was amazing. The man who made the move rushed in front of Tai Tang and slapped out with one palm. The terrifying flame true energy burned in his palm. It was extremely violent. Good. Tai Tang shouted, stretched out his palm, and the terrifying energy burst out from his palm. Tai Tang got the power of the wedding dress magic from the wife of the Night Emperor, and with his own practice, his own energy was extremely strong. Otherwise he would not be called the best in the world in his time. The power of the wedding dress magic is extremely powerful. Tai Tang used the magic of wedding dress to display the dominance of the world. The terrifying ki force surged out like a tide. Bang! The body of the person who made the move was shaken and flew backwards. The body hit the ground, and dust flew up, forming a terrifying sandstorm. At this moment, a black knife light appeared and slashed at Tai Tang. The timing of the move was very accurate. Tai Tang made a move to defeat the burly man. The old power burst out, and the new power has not yet condensed. Not only this knife, there was also a ghostly figure behind Tai Tang. This person was a little fat, but very fast. His palms became claws, carrying terrifying power, and grabbed behind Tai Tang. The two were very fast, in a flash of lightning. But Tai Tang's reaction speed was also very fast. At the moment when the two attacked, and almost touched him, his body moved in an instant and easily avoided the attack of the two. And while his body moved, his palm was attached to his back and gently clenched. The iron-blooded flag was in his hand. Then a blood-red color appeared, covering Miao Wanli who was wielding the knife. Miao Wanli's knife missed, and when he was about to turn over and continue to wield the knife, he felt a terrifying bloody aura instantly sweeping towards him. In an instant, his mind was swept by a terrifying bloody aura, and the whole person fell into a brief period of confusion. And at this moment, the dark black gun tip instantly pierced his heart. Gurgling, the terrifying blood instantly poured into the iron-blooded flag, and the fierce aura on the iron-blooded flag became even more terrifying. The blood was shocking. The flag was retracted. Miao Wanli's body fell to the ground with a plop. On the other side, killing without taboo, Lu Wuji's face was pale. He didn't expect that Miao Yadao was killed by a flag. He wanted to escape, but he felt that he was locked by a breath. His eyes changed, and his body did not retreat, and he came to Tai Tang. His palm became a claw, and grabbed Tai Tang's head. Tai Tang retracted the flag, and inserted it into his back, and then his right hand blocked in front of him like lightning. His palm blocked the opponent's claws. Lu Wuji's attack failed, and his eyes fixed. At this moment, Tai Tang slapped Lu Wuji's head with his backhand. Lu Wuji hurriedly turned his head, but his body was hit by the palm. The whole body was thrown backwards and hit the ground. Puff, a mouthful of blood spurted out of his mouth. But when he spurted out the blood, Taizan Tang raised his palm and sucked the opponent's body in with a force of energy. Taizan Tang grabbed the neck in his hand. Crack, Taizan Tang broke Lu Wuji's neck. In the blink of an eye, the two sneak attackers were pierced through the heart by Taizan Tang. One of them had his neck broken. These exchanges were very short. When everyone reacted, they all showed horror on their faces. They couldn't help but look at the person who had attacked before. This person is very strong. The two of them grasped the timing of their attacks very accurately, but they did not cause any damage to the other party and were killed one by the other party. King Leo, who was sitting in the tea house, spoke up. The bloody aura emitted by his weapon was very strong. Mao Wanli lost his mind for a short time under the big flag and was killed by the other party with one blow. Lu Wuji is not the Lu Wuji of the past. When he saw the other party kill Mao Wanli with one blow, his mind lost its sharpness. He was injured by the other party's blow and then his neck was broken. If you don't have the ambition, you are not suitable to attack again. It's really disappointing, Qin Zhuoyuan said coldly. His eyes continued to stay on the battlefield. There was another person on the battlefield. It was the person who attacked earlier. Heavenly thunder, blazing flames. The person who attacked shouted in a low voice, and a breath of thunder appeared in his body. These auras were extremely violent. Under the thunder, a terrifying flame true ki burst out. Both of them were more domineering true ki. When it was running, cracks appeared on the skin of the other party's body. It seemed that there was an explosive power in his body. Boom. Taking a step forward, as if shrinking the earth into an inch, he appeared in front of Taizan Tang with terrifying power. Under this terrifying power, the air exploded, forming bumps and depressions. In the other party's palm, one side was filled with thunder and the other side was burning with fire. Boom. Both palms slapped at Taizan Tang at the same time. Taizan Tang's eyes condensed. A terrifying blood-colored flag figure appeared behind him, and a bloody aura surged out. Divine power, unparalleled iron and blood. This is a move that Taizan Tang created after entering this world and coming to the capital. He used the spirit of his own iron blood flag gate and integrated it into his own divine power. He slapped his palms. Boom. An extremely terrifying loud noise was heard, like an earthquake. Thunder, lightning, flames, and bloody aura raged, forming a huge wave, spreading around like a mushroom cloud bursting here. In this explosion, a huge body was shaken out. All arms were broken. Blood gushed out from the cracks all over the body, and his eyes looked at the center of the explosion. He wanted to know the situation of the people inside. At this time, Taizan Tang walked out of the mushroom cloud and landed in front of the other party. He raised his hand and slapped the other party's heart. The key force shattered the other party's heart, and the person who made the move died. Chapter 623 Taizan Tang, holding the power to suppress, Zenwu Garden. So strong. Seeing Taizan Tang smashing the heart of the burly man, Emperor Wu Hao's eyes condensed in the dark. The strength of Taizan Tang, the deputy leader of the North Pavilion of Xian'ai Pavilion, was completely beyond his expectations. He looked at a place. There, Qin Zhuoyuan and King Leo's eyes under their hats were shocked. We thought it was a bit simple. His energy is very domineering and unparalleled. The medicine man who burst out with terrifying lethality was unable to suppress him. This Taizan Tang is much stronger than Yi Di and Rifu. Why is he the deputy leader of the North Pavilion? Qin Zhuoyuan said in a deep voice. We need to investigate. King Leo frowned slightly. The two then hid in the crowd and disappeared. Let's go. I don't think anyone will take action again. Let's go to see Deputy Leader Tai. Bei Chaofei said to Nalan Rangan beside him. At this moment, Nalan Rangan was still in a daze. Taizan Tang's strength was completely beyond her expectations. Although she didn't know the strength of these three people, they must be extraordinary. But now they were killed by Taizan Tang. It can be seen that Taizan Tang is very powerful. What's wrong? Without getting a response from Nalan Rangan, Bei Chaofei turned his head and asked. I was stunned just now. Nalan Rangan said. Then she followed Bei Chaofei to Taizan Tang. Meeting Deputy Pavilion Master Tai. Bei Chaofei bowed. Golden Wind and Rain Tower is under the name of the North Pavilion, and he needs to respect the Deputy Pavilion Master of the North Pavilion. No need to be polite. Let's go into the city. Taizan Tang nodded and returned to the carriage with Bei Chaofei. Bei Chaofei is here to greet that person. Who is that person? Some people couldn't help but ask. I'm not sure, but it should be someone from Shianaya Pavilion. Shianaya Pavilion. Didn't a strong man like Yaoyu come before? How come there is another one? You don't know this. Yaoyu is the deputy pavilion master of the South Pavilion of Shianaya Pavilion, and Bei Chaofei of Golden Wind and Rain Tower belongs to the North Pavilion. Although the other party's voice was low just now, I heard it clearly. The other party called that person Deputy Pavilion Master Tai. It must be the Deputy Pavilion Master of the North Pavilion of Shianaya Pavilion. This Shianaya Pavilion is really strong. The speaker was a man in green clothes, with a thin body and ears that were a little different from ordinary people. Although he was a little far away from Bei Chaofei and the others, he could still hear what Bei Chaofei said during the flying ceremony. It seems that the rumor a few days ago that the Deputy Pavilion Master of the North Pavilion of Shianaya Pavilion, Taizan Tang, came to the capital was correct. That person must be the Deputy Pavilion Master of the North Pavilion of Shianaya Pavilion, Taizan Tang. What does this Shianaya Pavilion want to do with such a strong man appearing? Is there something big happening in the capital? Some people whispered. What big thing can happen in the capital? Even if there is something, His Majesty can suppress it. Your Majesty is now in seclusion and doesn't care about things. Otherwise, how could Di Wuhao be assassinated and have his head cut off? We were chased by the 3 warlords and had to hide outside the city. The person next to him whispered. Shh. When he spoke, the person next to him immediately put his finger on his mouth to stop him from talking. Creaking. Bei Chaofei's carriage slowly passed in front of them. When the carriage entered the city, the people at the city gate began to move. Di Wuhao in the dark looked at the disappearing carriage. Maybe I can meet this Taizan Tang. After Di Wuhao finished speaking, he also left in secret. The carriage was very spacious, with a short long table lying in the middle, with tea sets on it. Nailan Rangan made tea for Taizan Tang. You should know who just attacked me. Taizan Tang said. That burly man should be from Zhenwu Garden, and the other 2 should be hired assassins from the capital. We need to investigate the specific information. Bei Chaofei said. Did Vice Pavilion Master Yaoyu of Zhenwu Garden South Pavilion not take action? Taizan Tang asked with some doubt. Hearing Taizan Tang's words, Nailan Rangan felt a little confused. After Vice Pavilion Master Yaoyu appeared and fought with Kenjuan of Zhenwu Garden, he did not send out the money gang, but from the strength he showed at that time, his strength was about the same as Kenjuan's. But Vice Pavilion Master Tai asked this? What does it mean? It means that Vice Pavilion Master Yaoyu's strength should not be what others saw that day. Vice Pavilion Master Yaoyu and Kenjuan had a brief fight, and Jing Wuming attacked and cut off one of Kenjuan's arms. I guess they considered that our strength in the capital was a little weak, so they didn't kill Kenjuan. Bei Chaofei said. Is that so? Then when I have time, I'll go meet Vice Pavilion Master Yaoyu, and by the way, we'll pass by the gate of Zhenwu Garden. It's impolite not to return the favor. Taizan Tang said. He had seen some information about Zhenwu Garden on the way here. Zhenwu Garden is very special, and he wanted to feel the strength of Zhenwu Garden up close. Hearing that Taizan Tang wanted the carriage to pass through Zhenwu Garden, Bei Chaofei's expression moved slightly, then nodded and explained to the driver. On my way here, the 10 Directions General Envoy told me that the leader of Shadow Gate, Hua Liu, has been subdued by him. Golden Wind and Drizzle Tower can contact Hua Liu to discuss merging Shadow Gate into Golden Wind and Drizzle Tower to increase Golden Wind and Drizzle Tower's strength in the capital. Taizan Tang took a sip of tea and said, if Shadow Gate can be merged into Golden Wind and Drizzle Tower, Golden Wind and Drizzle Tower's strength in the capital will definitely increase greatly. Bei Chaofei's face showed joy. Shadow Gate has existed in the capital for many years, and it is rumored that it has been serving the 12th Prince Liu He. If Golden Wind and Drizzle Tower can take over Shadow Gate, then relatively speaking, he will be able to grasp the dynamics of the 12th Prince. In addition, the eldest prince's mentor, Taibao Nanjinlan, who he had previously approached. Now Cheyenne Pavilion, North Pavilion Deputy Pavilion Master Taizan Tang has appeared and forcefully killed 3 C concentrated masters. I believe that the old Fox Nine Jinlin should pay more attention to them. Golden Wind and Drizzle Tower. In this way, he will be able to know more or less about the eldest prince's movements. This is a way to contact Tua Liu and ask her to come to Golden Wind and Drizzle Tower secretly tonight. Taizan Tang handed a note to Nalan Rangan. Subordinates, contact the other party immediately. After returning to the building, Nalan Rangan took the note and took a look, then shattered it. The carriage continued to drive for a while. The carriage stopped at the gate of Zenwu Garden. Boom. A terrifying bloody aura appeared above the carriage and enveloped the Zenwu Garden. The terrifying bloody aura was like a flood, surging and submerging everything. Sensing this aura, a violent force appeared in the Zenwu Garden to fight against it, but was shattered by the bloody aura. However, when this aura was shattered, 3 or 4 auras were emitted from the Zenwu Garden to resist this bloody aura. These forces entangled for a long time before dissipating, and the surrounding air returned to calm. Okay, let's return to the Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower. Taizan Tang's voice sounded in the driver's ears. Chapter 624. Qin Zhuoyuan is unwilling. Zenwu order. Xian Dinggong leaves the capital. Snap! Exclamation mark. In Zenwu Garden, Qin Zhuoyuan crushed his subordinate's teacup with one hand, and the tea in the teacup flowed out. It dripped on the ground with a dripping sound. After patting the teacup, Qin Zhuoyuan's face became extremely gloomy. This Taizan Tang is really too presumptuous. It's not enough to kill people at the city gate to establish his prestige, and he also came to the gate of my Zenwu Garden to be presumptuous. King Leo, who was beside him, also had a cold face at this time. This Taizan Tang did this. It was completely a slap in the face of their Zenwu Garden again. Just now you should have let me take action and kill this Taizan Tang. In the hall, Ku Xingqiu said. Kill him. Even if you have mastered the divine power of protecting your body, you may not be able to defend against the opponent's attack. If I don't stop you, you may be the one who dies if you take action. King Leo looked at Ku Xingqiu and said, he can break my tantric dragon Ganki. Ku Xingqiu said with some disbelief. His palm power may not be able to break it, but the weapon he carries on his back should be able to break your secret sect dragon key. The old man in green said. In fact, there were 2 things that shocked them at the city gate. One was the divine power displayed by Taizan Tang, his unparalleled iron blood and domineering palm power. The other was the iron-blooded flag behind Taizan Tang. The appearance of the flag shocked Miao Wanli's mind, and then Miao Wanli was killed by Taizan Tang with one blow. The iron-blooded flag was extraordinary. If you want to deal with Taizan Tang, you need to find someone who can deal with the iron-blooded flag in his hand. This Taizan Tang is too presumptuous. He appeared at the gate of my Zenwu Garden today and suppressed our Zenwu Garden with his power. My Zenwu Garden has become a stepping stone for their Cheyenne Pavilion. Ku Xingqiu said coldly. Hearing Ku Xingqiu's words, Qin Zhuoyuan's face became ugly. It was Qin Zhuoyuan's idea to attack Taizan Tang. Now that this situation has occurred, Qin Zhuoyuan needs to take full responsibility. Taizan Tang and Yao Yu from Cheyenne Pavilion must die in the capital to restore the reputation of Zenwu Garden. Qin Zhuoyuan said. This matter needs to be planned and plotted carefully before we can take action against them. King Leo said in a deep voice. Originally, they thought that the other party had killed people outside the city. This matter was over, but they did not expect that the other party would deliberately come to Zenwu Garden to suppress them. It was a slap in the face of Zenwu Garden. Let's put Cheyenne Pavilion aside for now. There is another thing we need to pay attention to, which is Sima Yun's disappearance. From the current situation, Sima Yun should not be taken away by Cheyenne Pavilion people, but by someone else. These people did not kill Sima Yun on the spot. They should want to know some information about Zenwu Garden from Sima Yun. King Leo said in a deep voice. Sima Yun is just an ordinary manager. He doesn't know the situation in Zenwu Garden. Qin Zhuoyuan frowned slightly. I investigated and found that Sima Yun should have been taken away by the people of the Xianjian division. They should be planning to take advantage of the secret medicine you are developing. Q Xingqiu said in a deep voice. Xianjian division, they are also taking advantage of the situation. Qin Zhuoyuan's face became even gloomier when he heard this. The Xianjian division had never taken action against Zhenwu Garden before. Now that Zhenyuan has lost its momentum, they are also planning to take advantage of Zhenwu Garden. Is Sima Yun still alive? Qin Zhuoyuan said afterwards. The Xianjian division's methods are not ordinary. Even if he is alive, he is probably useless, and the people of the Xianjian division should know something from him. But the Xianjian division will probably not keep an eye on my Zhenwu Garden in the near future. Lan Jiacheng, the deputy supervisor of the Xianjian division, is dead. It is possible that he died under the arrangement of Mirren Qingchen. Now Mirren Qingchen is actively consolidating the power of the Xianjian division. Q Xingqiu said. It's normal for the Liu family to have this kind of means. The world has been stable for decades, and now there are changes, most of which come from the palace. I don't know what our absolute overlord Emperor Zhao is thinking, Qin Zhuoyuan said coldly. I will write a letter to the owner of the garden to tell him about the things here and see what the owner of the garden has arranged. And by the way, let the owner of the garden allow me to use a Zhenwu order, Qin Zhuoyuan said. You want to use a Zhenwu order? Hearing Qin Zhuoyuan's words, the other two people's faces changed. The Zhenwu order has the same status as the owner of the garden, Zhenwu Garden. Seeing this token is like seeing the owner of the garden. With the Zhenwu token, Qin Zhuoyuan can mobilize the Sea concentrated strongmen in Zhenwu Garden. Although they have suffered some losses in front of Xianaya Pavilion, these few times, they have not hurt their foundation at all. It's time to mobilize the Zhenwu order. Otherwise, the people in the capital will almost forget how powerful our Zhenwu Garden is. King Leo said in a deep voice. At this time, in another place, Zi Mufeng stepped into a pavilion. In the pavilion, Mirengfu was sitting upright, with a pot of wine and some side dishes in front of him, as if he was entertaining friends. Zi Mufeng's eyes moved slightly. As for Mirengfu, he knew that he was the 12th prince's man, and had just recently entered the Northern Pacification Division, and became the deputy commander of the Northern Pacification Division. Of course, compared to him, the right governor of the inspectorate, one of the 3 divisions, Mirengfu was still far behind. However, there was a small pattern on the letter that Mirengfu asked him to see. The pattern was the same as the token that Su Chen gave him before he came to the capital, so he came to see Mirengfu. Please sit down, Lord Zi. Mirengfu sensed Zi Mufeng, stood up and waved his hand, asking Zi Mufeng to sit down. Zi Mufeng sat opposite Mirengfu. Mirengfu poured Zi Mufeng a glass of wine. Young Dragon Chief, they want to know some of the Ministry of Personnel's movements. And the masters of the Qinglang Society are already in the capital and can help you solve the problems you are worried about. I won't introduce my name. I'm from the Qinglang Society Oritang. Mirengfu did not hide it and spoke. Now, there are only 2 of them in the officialdom of the Great Zhao Dynasty. They need to cooperate with each other in the future. Excuse me. Seeing this, Zi Mufeng saluted. During this period of time, since he came back, he has not dared to do any investigation. Because he was afraid of being discovered by Zibing, it would be difficult to protect himself at that time. When he heard about Yan Shizhen of the Qinglang Society, before, he was still thinking about how to contact the Qinglang Society. Unexpectedly, the Qinglang Society contacted him first. It was Mirengfu, who had just left the relationship with the 12th prince, and became the deputy commander of the Northern Pacification Division. It seems that the master has more than one person in the capital. I don't know the specific situation of the Ministry of Personnel, but today I accidentally got a little news that Shan Dingong, one of the giants of the Ministry of Personnel, has left the capital. Zi Mufeng said in a deep voice. One of the big names in the Ministry of Personnel, Lord Shanding, left the capital? Did he go to the 9 northern counties? Mirengfu heard this, his eyes condensed. Now, the only conflict with the Ministry of Personnel is the Qinglang Society in the 9 northern counties. Lord Shanding left the capital at this time, presumably to deal with Li Chenzhao, the 3rd leader of the Qinglang Society. This matter needs to be sent out as soon as possible. Mirengfu said in his heart. I will spread the news about the head of the Z family today. It is estimated that Zibing will die in the next 2 days. When the time comes, you should do a good job of the aftermath of the Z family, and don't make any trouble. The Z family will be of great use to the young leaders layout in the capital, Mirengfu said in a deep voice. These people have many flaws in their identities when they entered the dynasty. If they are recommended by the Z family, a big family in the capital, the flaws can be made up. People secretly cultivated by the Z family. This is the method of the big family. All the noble families do this to avoid suspicion. Chapter 625. Zeman Chuksu kills people in front of others. The three great warlords. Late at night. Z Mansion. As a big family in the capital, Z Mansion occupies a manor of about 10 acres. In the inner courtyard of the mansion, in a study, Sir Z Mufeng accepted the invitation of Mirengfu, the new deputy commander of the Northern Pacification Division. Today, the two met for a while. A man in a green shirt said. In front of him stood a man in a purple crystal robe. He was not tall, but he exuded a huge majesty. It was Zibing, the current head of the Z family. Mirengfu. What is his background? Zibing said. The man in green shirt immediately replied. Mirengfu was a guest of the 12th prince before. Now he is recommended by the 12th prince to become a deputy commander of the Northern Pacification Division. His strength is in the 6 difficulties of heaven and man. The 12th prince is man. Does the 12th prince want to recruit him? Zibing frowned slightly. Any other actions? Zibing asked afterwards. No action. After contacting Mirengfu, he did not stay for long and left and returned to his mansion. The man replied. Keep monitoring. I have been looking for that thing in Z Mansion for so many years, but I still can't find it. That thing should be in Z Mufeng's hands. Zibing said in a deep voice. Yes. The visitor bowed and left the study. The blazing fire poison in my body can no longer be suppressed. I must find the Heavenly Star Ice Pearl as soon as possible and use the characteristics of the Heavenly Star Ice Pearl to help me condense my divine power. When Zibing said this, a gleam of light suddenly flashed in his eyes. Boom. Not long after, a rumbling sound appeared in the Z Mansion. Who dares to steal my Z family treasures is looking for death. Along with the rumbling, there was Zibing's roar. After the roar fell, a figure ghostly left the Z Mansion and disappeared into the night. Zibing rushed out with a furious face. The next day, Z Mufeng's mansion, an old man in a hurry, ran into the mansion. Second master. Something bad is going to happen. The head of the family is calling you back to the mansion. The old man who came in saw Z Mufeng in the hall and spoke. What happened to Xianbo? Why are you in such a hurry? Z Mufeng asked in confusion. Last night, our Z Mansion was robbed. Someone broke into the treasure house and stole the treasure. I don't know the specific treasure, but the owner of the family was furious and sealed the treasure house and asked me to call you back. Xianbo said. The treasure is lost. Call me back. Z Mufeng's eyes condensed. The loss of the Z family treasure house has nothing to do with whether he goes back or not. Why does Zibing want him to go back? He just contacted Mirengfu yesterday. Did Zibing find something? Second master, you should go back and take a look first. Xianbo said on the side. Let's go. Z Mufeng wanted to go back and find out what Zibing was up to. The two took a carriage and quickly headed towards the direction of the Z family. At this time, in front of the Z Mansion, a man in white clothes with cold eyes was holding a long sword and walking towards the Z Mansion. Some servants wanted to stop him, but the cold and ruthless aura made them dare not approach. Who are you? This is Z Mansion. A guard leader spoke despite the pressure on his body. I want to see Zibing, the head of Z family. The voice of the person who came was cold, but he stopped talking. If Zibing could come, he would not have to go deep into the mansion to kill people. Mirengfu sent the message. After Zeman Chuksu and the others got the news, Zeman Chuksu set out to Z Mansion. Yan Shizan had taken action, and Yi Gucheng had also taken action in front of outsiders, but Zeman Chuksu had not, so it was Zeman Chuksu who came to kill Zibing. I want to see the head of the family. Hearing that the person who came wanted to see the head of the family, the guard leader hurriedly signaled his men to go and invite the head of the family. After a while, Zibing, wearing a purple and gold robe, appeared in front of Zeman Chuksu. Who are you, and what do you want to do in my Z Mansion? When Zibing appeared, his eyes were fixed on Zimanchuksu. This person exuded a cold and terrifying sword aura, which made him palpitate. He didn't know the other party's intention. "You are Zibing." Looking at Zibing, Zimanchuksu spoke. His tone was calm, but he seemed to be confirming something. "I'm Zibing, the head of the Z family. Now you should tell me the purpose of your coming." Zibing's face showed anger, and he stared at Zimanchuksu with a sinister look. "Zimanchuksu of the Qinglang Society, I'm here to kill you." Zimanchuksu's tone was calm. Hearing Zimanchuksu's words, Zibing's face changed. He didn't know Zimanchuksu, but he knew the Qinglang Society. The main reason was that Yan Shizhen of the Qinglang Society had a great reputation in the capital recently. Moreover, the three great warlords were still notifying Yan Shizhen of the Qinglang Society. He looked at Zimanchuksu. He had never seen such a person, who actually appeared so blatantly in broad daylight, and told the other party that he wanted to kill him. How conceited he was. The fingers on his back moved a few times, and the person who appeared with him left quietly. The three great warlords were still wanted Yan Shizhen of the Qinglang Society. Although this Zimanchuksu is not Yan Shizhen, he is also a member of the Qinglang Society, and I believe the three great warlords will be interested. The capital is not a place for you, Qinglang Society, to run wild now, Zibing said sternly after the people left. He now wants to hold Zimanchuksu back and wait for the three great warlords to arrive. At that time, he will take Zimanchuksu down in one fell swoop. But this is his idea, not Zimanchuksu's idea. Zimanchuksu grasped the hilt of the sword, and the moment he grasped the hilt of the sword, a terrifying aura appeared on Zimanchuksu's body. The surrounding air also changed. It seemed that a lot of white snow was falling. Some people couldn't help but sneeze. The figure quickly retreated, looking at Zimanchuksu holding the long sword with horror. What a cold sword. Zibing's eyes condensed. A hot energy flowed in his body, resisting the cold air around him. But at the moment he resisted, the previously diffused cold air suddenly and quickly gathered towards Zimanchuksu. "It's a pity," Zimanchuksu murmured. The pity, he said, was because his opponent was too weak, and he couldn't use his full strength. What a pity. Zibing frowned slightly when he heard the voice from Zimanchuksu's mouth. He didn't know what the other party was sorry about. At this time, Zimanchuksu slashed with the long sword in his hand. The sword energy burst out. Seeing this, Zibing raised his palm, and a violent and hot true energy condensed in his palm, and slapped towards the sword energy that was slashing. Swish. The hot true energy was cut open by the sword energy. Zibing was shocked. He didn't expect that the blazing true energy he blasted out would be cut open by the opponent's sword. Just when he was surprised, the sword light was already in front of him. He wanted to dodge, but the sword light was too fast and instantly pierced into his body. Plop, his body fell to the ground. There was only horror in his eyes. There was no breath anymore. Kill Zibing with a sword. After killing, Zimanchuksu put away his sword and turned away with a calm look. But when he left, in the capital, the three great warlords had already received the news that Zimanchuksu of the Qinglang Society had appeared. Although it was not Yan Shizhen, the three great warlords still gathered and came here. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.